questions like, why are we here? What happens when you die? Where did we come from? And is there a God?
The U.S. government has been shown to have had a long-term interest in Scientology.
This is a practical course here.
I know this is an illusion, or dream, or call it the way you want to call, you know?
We are a bigger threat to the people who are secretly trying to control this planet than any other group on this planet.
But the problem with an atheist is he believes that his belief is based on fact.
Oh, it's wireless. Yeah, you got wireless one.
He's impressive. He's a powerful guy.
I can't make this shit up.
The leaders of this are not just after our church, they're after the whole of this planet.
He was put here to work out his own salvation. And we feel in Scientology that we've made a very big stride in that direction.
Howdy everybody, and welcome to the Indie Scientology podcast. I'm your host, Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy, and isn't it lovely to be here listening to the good old Strauss. This is the podcast that has everything to do with the interesting world of Scientology. Yes, that odd religion you might have heard about. If you don't know what Scientology is, then put simply, it's a bunch of self-help books and exercises that evolved into a religion created by American sci-fi author L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s. Today's guest interview is with Theo SismanidesExSO. How did you like the last show with Robert Dam? There's a part 2 to that still to come, but that was interesting, that part 1. This first hour was a bit slow, but yeah, picked up towards the end there. Well, I think now it's time for us to go down that rabbit hole. Oh, the call is coming. We're going to go into that interesting world of Scientology where down is up, left is right, right is left. What you thought was impossible is possible. Welcome to the show on this 25th of September 2018. And there's something on my mind, and it is me not making enough of these podcasts. I apologize. In fact, months ago, at the start of the year, I was not regularly making the podcasts, and I knew it was wrong. And I think the last podcast with Robert Dam, I think I said, I promise I'm going to do more podcasts. I'm going to continually, for the rest of the year, I'm going to continue to regularly do them. Well, it seems like I as-is that idea because that just disappeared, and that didn't happen at all, and I haven't made a podcast for months now, and the mic that I usually use had dust on it. I had to blow the mic off. I couldn't even learn how to use it. It was just like, whoa, like I was so out of the zone of making the podcast. And funnily enough, months ago when I did make that promise, I actually felt some counter-intention. When I made that, I said, I promise I'm going to make regular podcasts for the rest of the year. I actually felt, it must have been my knowingness of what was going to come in the next few months, but I kind of felt like I was lying or something. I felt like I was being dishonest. There was a bit of counter-intention there. And turns out that gut feeling that I had was right. I didn't make any more podcasts, and I broke that promise. But I've learnt my lesson, and from now on I will make regular podcasts. I think I got distracted by other things, and I had some interesting dramas come in my life, which I will make a podcast about. I'll make an Andy's Knowledge Report about, because it's a lot of information to it, and there's a lot to learn from it. It's a very interesting experience. it involves like a court case and stuff, so that's not over yet. So I'll wait till the end, and I'll when I get all the information in on my investigations, and I'll make a great podcast about it. But even though I might have had some excuse, I still don't think that's an excuse. What it represents, the fact that I didn't do many podcasts over the past few months, what it represents is the fact that I was getting too sucked into life, too sucked into the matrix, and that's the whole trap of the matrix that we're living in. It just, if you don't stamp your foot down and, you know, get in session or read that book or whatever, you end up just working more and more hours or getting sucked into it. There's all these games and all these things going on, and they all just suck you in. I mean, right now, you can go and watch people who are playing the pokies, or go and watch people who are watching sport on TV, and they're Thetans that have been sucked into games and distractions, and they're just wasting their time and not getting anywhere, right? And that's why people stay in the matrix and end up never finding out who they really are, because they just get so distracted by things and they stop with doing the important stuff. Anyway, here's an independent Scientology success story. Here is a marriage counseling success story. These guys have been married a very long time. Coming into counseling, I was in a very bad place in my life and with my wife. Now I find her funny, charming, loving, and I am once again enjoying being with her. I do love her, and now I can treat her with respect. We are now back in communication, and we can work on putting the pieces back together. We can create again. This marriage counseling has been a life changer for me and us. I feel we have freed each other up of many heavy chains around our necks and each other's. I'm looking forward to the future. Our counselor has been fantastic in every respect. I'm very thankful for this in-depth counseling and knowledge. And that's interesting reading that success story, because I can tell that the person who wrote that isn't a Scientologist or is really new to Scientology because of the words they use. And that's also, it's a way of how to spot if people like celebrities or big shots are Scientologists, because they use certain words. Like Freemasons have like a special handshake that they do and stuff, and a certain way they stand or something while they're speaking, and that gives away a message to people who are in the know, who are Freemasons, that they're also Freemasons. We don't really have that in Scientology, and we're nowhere near as big as Freemasonry, but I don't know what happened to Freemasonry. It seems like that was a big movement in the 30s, and now it's died off. But what Scientologists do is they have certain words. They use words like reality, or just because of the Scientology language, they'll drop certain words, and then you'll go, oh, I think that guy is is a psycho because of the language he's using and stuff. Well, I might say something like, something needs to be done about it. You know what I mean? The wrong thing to do is nothing, and then it's just like, oh, that person's probably a psycho. That's a bit of a psycho line. Anyway, so that's how you can spot a Scientologist. Now it's time for Comment of the Week. This is from Oscar Go, and it's on one of my videos on YouTube, and it says, Andy, you are a legend for speaking out against feminists and the mainstream media who attack men every single bloody day. All real men have your back, brother. Never back down. With an exclamation point. It's a good comment. It's not really relevant to this podcast though, but I just wanted to put it in there because I'd gotten a lot of like attacking comments recently, and so I just thought I want to read that one out. But here's the real one. Here's the actual one relevant to the podcast. I was just showing off with that comment because I was like, great comment, Oscar Go. Great comment. An interesting last name if it is Oscar Go. That's a kind of cool last name. All right, no, but here's the real comment of the week. Okay, now this was posted into I think the Scientolopedia Facebook group, and I am not sure who posted it, but they said, "What are your considerations about the book Self-Clearing by the Pilot?" And the pilot is Ken Oger, and I've read one of his books. I don't know if it was Self-Clearing, but it was interesting. It was really down the rabbit hole. It gave a rundown of what you would expect on each part of the bridge, like a summary sort of, which is kind of cool because at the time when I was reading, I didn't know too much about the OT level, so I was like, oh, what's OT1, what's OT3, blah, blah, blah. So if you're a naughty type who wants to get a little bit of a long-time Scientologist idea of what's in those naughty levels that you shouldn't be looking at, that's kind of cool to check out. But I shouldn't recommend that, okay? It's naughty, right? But what was interesting was after that in the book, he then started to go on about deep philosophical truths about life and his philosophy on what he thinks going on. And it just goes so down the rabbit hole, just goes, oh my God, you know what I mean? And I don't agree with what he was saying, but it was very outside the box. It was very interesting as to what he thought was the truth about life. And I can't even remember it, but it was so out there, his ideas. It was just like, whoa. It's something that I'll read again in like 20 years' time or something, and I'll think about what he said about the whole truth about life and everything, and it's just like you've got to read it. Anyway, I don't know if that was a self-clearing book, but anyway, someone asked about this self-clearing book, and people wrote their different comments about it. And so Scott Gordon wrote, this is his comment, so it's actually Scott Gordon has got the comment of the week, and he said, there is a lot more to the story than simply suicide, because Ken Oger committed suicide, right? Because somebody commented that. They said something like, I wouldn't go by his book because he committed suicide. And so then Scott Gordon said, there is a lot more to the story than simply suicide. Ken Oger wrote in 1999 that shortly after his wife outed his real identity to the church, he caught 2 agents working alongside him at his company. He exposed them and they blew. Ken Oger was a highly prized target for the church and perhaps for other interested intelligence agencies. It is not hard to believe then his account of being drugged and implanted. I cannot believe that anyone would... So I just want to read that again. It's not hard to believe then his account of being drugged and implanted. Maybe he talks about that in this self-clearing book. But, anyway, that's interesting. Whoa. Being drugged and implanted. Wow. I cannot believe that anyone would disparage his hard work so flippantly or label a suspicious death as suicide. I have looked deeply into the matter for many years, so please don't tell me the coroner ruled it a suicide, so the case is closed. Intelligence and mafia have methods of making a murder look like a suicide, and that is entirely possible in Ken's case. Ken's work was and is a valuable contribution to our knowledge base, regardless of his case state and regardless of the hostile forces who intended to wipe him out because he threatened a monopoly. Wow. So that is a great comment, Scott, and I agree with some of your stuff, especially, the coroner ruled it a suicide, so the case is closed. That doesn't mean anything. Like, from my experience of late, don't think that the legal system is accurate or the police are honest or just anything. Like, there's a lot more going on, Anyway, but that is interesting, huh? There's a lot of freedom fighters who just drop dead of heart attacks or suicide and that sort of stuff, and It's a little bit suspicious how they died. It's unlikely that they died. It's time now for a SciO joke. What did the Scientologist say before he read his tea leaves? OT, show me the way. Get it? OT, show me the way. All right. Today's guest interview is with Theo SismanidesExSO. He was a former Sea Org staff member and he's an independent Scientologist now from Greece. We discuss things. We get into a little bit of politics about the European Union. The connection during this interview was bad, which I was suspicious about because it happens a lot to me. Things where the reception should be good and the internet connection should be good. It's just not good, and not just in these podcast interviews and other things. In fact, I upgraded my phone to the best phone service in Australia, the best company, and that didn't solve my problems. And then I was like, oh, that's why I've been getting bad reception. I thought that my reception wasn't that good because I'd ask people, I'll go, oh, you're with Optus, yeah, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm with Optus, and I'll be like, you know, the reception's bad and that sort of stuff, or you know, the calls are blurry and that sort of stuff, and they're like, no, it's all right. Like I had a problem with talking on the phone, they didn't, yet we're with the same company, so I was like, oh, that's a bit strange. Then I upgraded to the better company, and no, the same problem remained, and I know why. Anyway, there's other things to look for if you're being electronically surveilled, and that's your phone gets hot when it shouldn't, and your battery runs out faster. But anyway, I digress. Let's dig into this, cook up a pot of tea, and let's hear some talk about the world's most interesting, controversial, and odd religion, Scientology. Theo SismanidesExSO is a Greek independent Scientologist. He used to be in the Sea Org and he claims that he left because he was being forced to squirrel. The Sea Org was trying to stop him from applying LRH policy. Well, now that he's an indie, it looks like they've failed. This and many other things I'm going to ask him about. Theo SismanidesExSO, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Andy. Hi.
Hey, it's good to reach you.
Thank you. You too.
Yep, and hopefully the internet doesn't stuff up this time. We're just saying how there might be some counter intention.
Yeah, okay. We'll get through that. Intention is cause, as you know. Okay. Well, there's a lot to be said. I used to be in the Sea Org, as you said, for 9 years. I quit the law. I graduated law school, so I used to be a lawyer. But when I read Dianetics, I felt that that was, the mission of my life, to understand man.
Yep.
So I started understanding man, and then I felt like I should be more involved. So I became staff in Athens. Then I started, with the help of some friend, reading the PCs.
And what year was this?
What? Sorry, what?
When was this? Was this in the 90s or something? Or
that was in the late 80s. Like 87, 88, something like that.
So the tech was still all right back then. I think it went really bad at 1996 with the GAT1.
Oh, yeah. I've been through that, so I know that. Yeah. Well, at the moment I had no clue, about all the screw-ups that were happening. LRH was gone since 86, for some people since 82, I don't know. So I just went to the Sea Org. I joined the Sea Org in Copenhagen, and within a year I flew over to Los Angeles to go over to the translations. Well, the criteria and the standards were really high. I couldn't even help in translations, my God.
Now, hold on a second. What year was this?
That was 1991.
And was this after you'd signed the Sea Org contract?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was in the Sea Org already for a year.
Okay,
I
okay.
flew,
And where'd you fly to?
I'm sorry?
Where'd you fly to?
Well, I flew from Copenhagen, where I did the EPF. I flew to LA, to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
I went to Flag Bureau. You know, the translations were the middle management on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yep.
And the translations, there was a main section of translations over there. So I went over there and, you know, I just said I used to be a lawyer, had a good grasp of Greek and English, supposedly, and I wanted to translate. So I got through all these sec checks and stuff because I was meant to go to Int. And that was awful. I couldn't go to Int. It was like, you know, in order to translate, I had to go through a lot of things. Oh, at the moment I remember, at the middle management, there was no translations unit. So you had to go to Int management, you know. And, you know, through the sec checks, things were coming up. Miscavige was coming up on me. I don't know for what reason. And, you know, I didn't pass the sec check. So I was sent to the American St. Hill Organization, ASO.
Yep.
You know, ASO Day and ASO Foundation. They make the class sixes. They used to make class sixes. I don't know if they make them anymore. And over there, Andy, I had a ball. It was
Sorry.
awesome.
What did you say that they used to make what?
Class 6 auditors.
Oh, class 6. Okay, yeah.
Right. Yeah. AOLA, the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles, was right next door in Los Angeles, and ASHO was at the other side.
Now hold on a second. When you said ASHO, I thought ASHO and the Advanced Org were the same thing.
ASHO and what?
And the Advanced Org, the LA Advanced Org and ASHO were the same thing.
They are not the same thing. No, they are not the same thing. ASHO, the American St. Hill Organization, the main purpose of it is to make Class 6 auditors. It's mainly a training org, you know. And
okay, really? So what about in Europe and like in Australia? Like let's say the Australian Advanced Org in Sydney. I just thought what the Advanced Hill Saint name or whatever you're saying. I thought that was just an alternate name for the Advanced Org.
Yeah. Well, it might be in Australia, they might be combined, but in America they have two organizations which are next door, you know, just opposite one to the other. One is the St. Hill, and they used to make, I don't know how many Class 6s they make now. Honestly, they didn't make many at that time. So, and then there's the AO on the other side of the street of Aaron Hubbard Street.
Yep.
And who make, you know, OTs. That's their mission.
Now, hold on a second. I don't mean to be fussy, but is it called L. Ron Hubbard Lane?
Yeah, L. Hubbard Lane, L. Hubbard Street, or whatever it was called at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's vertical to Hollywood Boulevard. You know, it's a nice place, and they used to make it, you know, like a sanctuary, like a little paradise, a little island for Scientology. It was really nice. Now I believe it's much nicer. But I tell you, they didn't have any toilet paper, and I was like, come on, guys, you know, we have to have some toilet paper. And my God, then power was supposed to be, the power processes were supposed to be delivered in the St. Hill, and they were never delivered there. There were a lot of screw-ups. Yeah. But I had a ball. I was a recruiter. I used to be the recruiter because no one took the responsibility in 1991, you know, 9 years after the main massacre that happened, you know, from Miscavige. I didn't know all that stuff. We're in 1991, and there are no recruiters for the Sea Org. And I'm the Greek guy, and I'm going like gung-ho and saying, hey, come on, guys, come on in, you know, and nobody comes in. No Americans come in. It's an out point, you know what I mean? And I feel like, what the hell is going on? But I study stuff, and I read stuff myself after production, and I read the PDCs and stuff like that. So I get gains, and I apply the study tech. You know, there's a tone 45, Andy. You know there is a tone. No? Oh, you don't know, huh? Well, let me tell you, there's a tone 45. Describe me the PDCs, and LRA says PDC tape number 1. What's to be done in this course? PDC tape number 1, and he said like tone 45 can be like compared to the tarot card, the Fool, the tarot. He's a guy who knows all agreements and does nothing about it. You know, the tarot card represents the Fool with somebody. There is an alligator and a mad dog after him. NRA says the dog will jump through him, you know, and will jump on him, and it was going to go through him. And it's going to be a very amazed dog, because the tone 45, LRH was tone 45. He came here, he knew all agreement. I mean, he did something about it, obviously. He had to go a little bit down tone level. At the point, I'm just, you know, going fast forward now, in the year 2000 when I was declared. That was again in Denmark. I'll tell you in between if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, keep on going. Keep on going.
I knew we had standard tech, okay? That was the basic agreement. That was the fundamental of all Scientology. Standard tech, you know? And I knew I had, you know, this big outpoint coming up that there are LRH bulletins, and I want to stress this very much in this interview for whoever is going to attend and, you know, see this interview. This is the biggest outpoint ever. I was a CEO member. I was the translations director, you know, in 1997, and I pointed out those HO bulletins. They're called, it's the tape series. This is, in other words, the translation series.
Yeah.
So what happens? What happens? Like Walter Cotter, who used to be the CLO, the commanding officer of the CLO, didn't listen to me. He went up lines to Miscavige, and he comes back and tells him, sir, these are the HOBs. We have to apply them. Supposedly, at INT level, at INT management, they did a whole research, quote unquote. And the COCLO comes back, and after this research, he doesn't even know the LRH bulletins. They are called Scientology in other languages, Scientology and Dianetics in other languages. That's tape series number 2. And tape series number 1 is called Course Translation to Tape or something. I don't remember exactly the title. What's the meaning of all this? LRH, from the year 72, he meant to have all translations on tape. You remember the reel-to-reel tapes?
Yep.
You remember those tapes? Okay. At that moment, that was the technology on planet Earth, 1972. It meant all translations be done on tape by United Nations caliber translators. He called them sightseers. I think it's not sightseers. I don't remember the exact name. They can translate. They are United Nations caliber quality. They can see and translate. And they have a technical advisor next to them. And the technical advisor clears up all the terminology of Scientology to them. And they go, and they translate. And the courses go down to the orgs, to Africa, to India, to China, to whoever, to Athens, to I don't know where, fast. And they are really on tape. And the diction is good, so that somebody can duplicate exactly the message. But why is this? Because the translations do not cost much. And LRH talks about cheap courses, and he talks about come off of the perfectionism. I know my hat, boy. Come off of the perfectionism. That's what Soros said. And Miscavige is all perfectionism. LRH has said, quantity, quality, viability. Miscavige very cunningly goes quality, because all thetans can be stuck on aesthetics. You know, they can, when they become stuck on aesthetics, because aesthetics is the finest way there is, which approaches the zero or infinity wavelength of a thetan, because a thetan has no wavelength. He has zero or infinity. Okay? So aesthetics is the thing that, you know, goes closest to that wavelength of a thetan, which is infinity. For Miscavige, as all churches, he's been using aesthetics to destroy the technology.
Yeah.
And I know that firsthand, because I can do this and I can close this subject. I can tell you this. The year 2000 or 1999, Miscavige goes on the maiden voyage. And he goes, the maiden voyage, you know, there's an event, maiden voyage on the free winds, and there is an event every year. And the title of this event, I don't recall if it's 1999 or 2000, is Going Global. And he goes and says about the translations that we're now going global because he has created all these units of translations. Like, despite the HOBs, he's not applying those HOBs, but what is he doing at this event? I can bring it up and send it to you on YouTube, maybe it exists. He quotes from the very HOB, Dianetics and Scientology in every language, which is tape course series number 2, tape series number 2, and he quotes only a little part of it, which is irrelevant to the text, but has some meaning, and it's called on source. There's a paragraph at the end of this bulletin. I could bring it up. Sorry, I was not prepared. You know, this interview is live, so I'm just giving it to you, and we can check it out. And on source Ellerate says, people, I paraphrase now, people mistrust the organizations that do not apply standard tech, the materials.
Yeah.
And only trust the organizations that apply the materials. And Miscavige dares to quote from the very HOB that I was declared because I insisted on it. And he discards all the rest of it, all the technology. Planet Earth, since the year 74, or even the year 2000, if they apply this technology of LRH, which have many cheap courses, verbally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, with his speeches, it's probably written by a speechwriter anyway. So David Miscavige seems to be a pretend Scientologist anyway. He's just faking it. So he just wants power and control. So with the Declare, right? So you were working on translations, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
And you were showing them LRH policy, and they were telling you we don't. Did they actually say to you, we don't want you using this?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. It's Thursday before 2 o'clock. The CLO, the commanding officer of the Continental Liaison Office, that's the main central org in Copenhagen of the Sea Org, like managing all the orgs of Europe and Russia, because Russia was considered Europe at the moment. I don't know now. Probably still is. Well, comes to me, and I'm the TU director, the translations unit director, and he says, Theo, you know, get the program done. The program was some program that the in management had invented, you know, and put together, so it's done. And I go and tell him, sir, what about the HOBs on translations? I'm the TU director. You know, that's the only technology I know from LRH. We have to get them on tape. It's the year 2000. What are we doing here? You know, Athens, Andy, I'm doing a little parenthesis here. Athens had nothing of the materials. Athens was a mission, and when we and my ex-wife were declared, They gave all her translations because my ex-wife was a very good translator and she had translated a bunch of books, about 20, and they were never released. And when we were declared, they released everything. And they wanted to say that we were the SPs on the lines who kept those materials. And now that we are gone, Theo and Olga, you get the materials. And Athens became a classified org at that moment. I did 6 TV shows in Athens. I did 6 TV shows about Scientology. I can tell you people who were calling, the shows stopped because the Greek public, I mean the government and stuff like that, they didn't want you to, and even Scientologists were like, my God, what's happening? So CLO comes to me on that Thursday and tells, get the program done. And I'm saying, sir, what about LRH? And that's verbatim now, Andy. And he tells me, read COB. You know COB, chairman of the board?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the guy. And I go like, read COB? I'm talking to him about LRH bulletins. We're in the Sea Org. That's not, you know, that's LRH now. And I tell him, well, read LRH because I've had enough. And I knew what was happening. I was reading the Free Zone outside on the internet, so I knew things at that time. So I was prepared. And I said, read LRH. And he goes, read COB. I say, okay, read LRH. We're here for LRH. And he continues and says, read COB. And I'm saying, my God, this comp cycle leads nowhere. And I go to Walter Cottridge, and I remember that. And I go, okay, I'm going to give this comp cycle an end. And I tell him, okay, read LRH, and I'll check you out. And that was my last moment, you know, on post. I was yanked, you know, by here, and I was sent to ethics. And his wife, I don't remember her first name, she was an American, she tells me, Theo, get with the program. That's what they were pushing, to answer your question. They were pushing the program no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah, this makes sense. They've got, they got their little programs and that sort of stuff, and they come from upper management, and they say, you do this, and they go, don't worry if it violates LRH. Well, they don't actually say that, but they basically imply it, like, just ignore LRH, this is what we're doing now. It's kind of like, I guess, with the fundraising for the ideologues, and people might say, hold on a second, there seems something wrong here, it's not following LRH, but they go, no, this is command intention, this is coming from the top, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it like they reckon it overrules and that sort of stuff, and because you know they've squirreled the auditing tech and that sort of stuff and the courses, but when it comes to the whole admin side, their squirreling's much deeper, and there's a lot more of it and that sort of stuff. Like you go and you look at the ideologues and you see the org board for the ideologues, and I remember when I first got into Scientology, I looked at it and I was like, wow, look at that org board. Like it had like body chief, reg, section, unit, this, blah, blah, blah. It was really specific and all that sort of stuff. People don't know that. I think that's just all made up. Like that's as in like COB or one of his other Sea Org staff members said we need an org board for the ideal orgs or whatever, and they literally created these org boards, which makes sense because
it's interesting
because it's so regimented. Yeah, it's so regimented and strict, as in like, and it's too much. It fits.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
I have to look at this.
It fits.
That's incredible.
It fits the way David Miscavige goes with his micromanagement, where he's like really like Nazi and really strict, and he's like, this is blah 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 blah. So you see, so you see this epic org board, and it's following LRH's org board that he came up with, but it's changed a lot from that, and it's had so much extra stuff added to it. And so it's a similar thing with the translation things. They come up with these programs and all this other sort of stuff, all these creative Sea Org people, but it's not really LRH, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm very interested in this new org board, you know, and all the alterations, because the org board, I know about the org board. The whole ideal org thing is a Miscavige creation, like as in he has the idea to have
you know, Div 6 advertising, then Div 2 advertising. It's all his epic creation. You know what I mean? And it's like, and the way how he designs, they design the building and they say we're going to have the objectives room this big and the HGC waiting room this big. I mean, it's so much of it is his creation. It'll be, if people walked in there who were used to the old orgs and they walked in, they'll be like, wow, this is something else. You know, it's just, it's a whole new different thing. It's kind of like what GAT1 did to the tech. The Ideal Org thing is like another massive change to the whole admin and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. You see, the problem, on the org board we can discuss because I used to be, after I was a recruiter, I came to Athens to get my visa. And then I met my wife-to-be at that time, Olga, and we had an affair. So I got a little bit punished and I was sent to the EPF and I was demoted from recruiter to a central files officer. Okay, that was a big deal. I got my wife. I have 2 kids with her, and I thank God for that. So I redid the EPF and I was sent as a central files officer. And I applied the 7 division org board because I've read the org board and livingness many times. I cleared my words on it, and I found out that the org board and livingness, I'm applying it still on my advertising job here in Athens now for many years, and it's going okay. But in ASHO, I applied it on the central files. If you had ever been, which you haven't, in the ASHO, it was like a corridor down the dungeons in the basement, and there were files, you know, cabinet files, left and right, and there was about half a meter freeway to move down there, and it was suffocating, and no one would file. ASHO was supposed to be like a St. Hill-sized org, so they had to put the CF in order. You know the CF, the central files, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I applied the 7 division org board down there. I was just a receptionist because I was alone, and there was another guy, another SEAL member who was crippled, and he was on a wheelchair, but a very dedicated Tom. I don't remember his other name, and he was the address officer, and we were just the 2 of us. I can tell you, Andy, within a few months, with the application of the 7 division org board, there were 150 volunteers. Why? First of all, because I applied the org board. I had a good notion of how I fucked it up on some divisions, that's true, or some departments, ethics, for example. But ED comes up, Guillaume Lezel, I don't know where is he, où est-il maintenant? Moi je parle français. Where is Guillaume Lezel? ED. Anyway, this guy comes out and says, whoever is going to help as a volunteer on the ASHO Central Files project, he's going to get the briefing course. Wow. And suddenly I get such an inflow, and I just tell them, look, guys, in 3 months we're going to have it done. That was a little bit, you know, of an off target. But there were 150 people over there, and we applied the org board, and I was like, this is production, we have recruitment, this is promotion, blah, blah, blah. It was not just file. People don't know Scientology. I claim that I know less than 10% of it, because I'm not fully fledged auditor, although I have Aziz things. It's a major thing for the planet, Azizness. I know about it. I have Aziz things. I have to help people, you know, with a contact assist in less than 2 minutes to get the pain off with just 3 contacts. Okay? A scarred finger, it doesn't matter. It was a little miracle. People know less. They are on the minus scale. They are semi-literate of Scientology, so they do more harm than good. I accept that I'm semi-literate, and, you know, because 10% it's a lot. Those people don't know. And I'll tell you an example. I'm the CF officer, I'm applying the org board, and there comes a missioner, Yolanda McGuire, a black woman from Chicago. She was from a mission from Flag and says, you know, Theo, you file. You know, you're here to be the CF officer. And I say, Sir or Yolanda, because we had done a mission in Switzerland together, so I knew her, I'm not going to file. I found a skeleton at the back of the basement of the last Central Files officer. This is huge. You want me to do it single-handedly? Are you crazy? I'm applying an org board here, and I'm going to get 150 people. There is a little more to it. Then comes the communicator of the CEO ASO. His name was Cohen, and she comes down and says, Theo, you're a squirrel. You're doing your own thing down here, you know. But after I got 150 people, the CEO was calling Theo's Underground. And to end that, I tell you, John Axel, John A-X-E-L, who was an American Polish old-timer, he has worked with LRH, comes down on a mission to get, you know, I tell you, there is one thing that I forgot. You know, some people, like after the target was not met in 2 months, they got upset. You know, some SPs there and say, oh, Theo promised us, you know, 2 months, and now we're in the 3rd month and we're halfway through the project. So I got removed. I got promoted back to recruiter, and John Axel comes. CMO int mission, Andy. Listen to that now. I'm lighting up a cigarette to this man, John Axel. He comes to the ASO basement, my friend, and you know what he does? He takes the org board, he puts it on board, a CMO int mission, because he understands he's an old-timer. He's not the commanding officer, fucking stupid. He's not, you know, the communicator. He's not Yolanda McGuire, the CMO int missioner. I mean, okay, she was black. I'm not a racist, but she was stupid too. You know, from Chicago, Theo, you file. And he comes, John Axel, puts the org board on board like that, you know, and he puts on there. He gets it from 150 people to 250, and they get the project done. And you know what it writes on the org board? On the top left, Theo SismanidesExSO founder. I never got a picture, man. I was the founder of the CF project of ASO. So who is the founder? Who is the founder of the 7 division org board? Because I've applied it and I know it. And you know what's the problem with the free zone? Oh, they think everybody is going to do their little thing and their conscience is going to be fine. Well, you're not OT enough then. Because I'm dying, Rez has said in KSW, win or die in the attempt. You see this guy right now? I'm Greek, I'm dramatic, you know, Greek drama, Greek comedy. We invented that stuff. Yeah. But I'm dying, man. This is the thing. If you are OT enough, you cannot have that. The free zone have no idea about the third dynamic and the org board. And they're, yeah, I see many guys writing, you know, on the Facebook and stuff and, you know, chit-chatting. Okay, cool. If LRH would be around, I tell you, all these guys would be either, you know, gathered up in Australia, maybe, I don't know, Switzerland, someplace, Greece. He would gather them up or say, you guys, make a group. You know the Sea Org symbol? There is the 3 seagulls, and LRH says in the dictionary, the third dynamic is the pivoting point around which the universe turns. And what Miscavige has managed to do, he has managed to keep a third dynamic. Thin and slim, fat and whatever. I don't know. I'm not interested because I know he's a squirrel. Yeah. And I know my unity doesn't depend on a church. LRH says, I've read once, I don't remember the difference. Get this. Why do you need a church for a via?
Yeah.
That gave me my ticket out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, Theo, because you remind me of the Greek people from Melbourne. Because there's a really big Greek community in Melbourne.
Yeah. We are programmed. You know, our mind. I don't know what it is, but you know, I'm trying to explain the theta idea to people, and I pick up a phone and I say, you see this phone here? Okay. You see, it's a body. It has a body, and it has a mind. Steve Jobs has made this mind. He was a brilliant theater. I'm not gonna say theater to them. He was a brilliant guy, you know. But
hey, what time did it say on your phone? Can you click that again? I'm just interested.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm saying I'm trying to make a parallel.
What time is it on the screen on your phone?
Oh,
can I see?
Oh, it's can you see?
Yeah, 2:45. All right, yeah. Sorry. Anyway,
it's early here.
I know I was going off topic, but I thought it said the same time as my clock, and I was like, well, that's weird because we're in different time zones, so it shouldn't be the same. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm telling them, okay, you see this? So I can turn it off and on, you see? Okay, somebody taught me that if you press this button here, it goes on and off. Okay, I didn't know that. Anyway, immediately. So, you see, it has a body, and it has a mind. The mind, Steve Jobs made this mind, okay? But still, it's not working. Can you see it is dead?
Yeah.
I'm trying to give them the notion of who is behind this thing.
Yeah.
So there's a user, and then user, by knowing what to do, can turn it off and on.
And the user's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy for people who are new to Scientology, who don't understand what they are and who they are. They're a spirit. They're a spirit driving the body.
Right. And Andy, I can understand you. But understand that this is just an example. And Scientology, with TRs, with basic training, with auditing, gives you, the real tools so you can be aware of who you are. Some of us, luckily or unluckily, we were born with this awareness. Because maybe you have a mission here, maybe we're meant to do some things, and I don't know, okay? Some have no clue of who they are. And that's the big outpoint here on this civilization. And that's what I understand. I understand you, all this frustration that you have, because I'm 58 years in this body now. I have a little bit more experience, okay, years-wise, time-wise, and I'm a little bit more patient now. I used to be impatient, but now I can see that people don't get it. So what's the responsibility of the pre-zone here? What's the responsibility? One by one are falling out. What's the responsibility? The responsibility is, guys, let's unite and create a third dynamic, okay? Well, Andy Knowles can definitely be a PR man, okay? Well, maybe sometimes he needs some correction, okay? Good. If he's gonna listen ever. We say recalcitrant Greeks, but I think Australians are recalcitrant too.
Recalcitrant? Oh yeah, hold on. What was the definition of that? Recalcitrant.
Well, they used to call us at the Sea Org the recalcitrant Greeks,
Yeah. I think Greeks are like that, and I heard Australians at Flag they think that Australians are difficult to deal with.
Okay.
Did you hear that? Okay. Have you heard that as well?
Well, no. Honestly, I don't recall too many Australians in my Sea Org career. I mean, most of them go to ANZO. Of course, there were some. Oh yeah, what's her name? I mean, she used to be that lady. She's in Australia now, ex-Sea Org. Oh my God! I mean, she's on Facebook. Pretty girl. I don't recall her name now. I will maybe.
Lana Mitchell.
Right, Lana Mitchell. I mean, I was at ASO and she was at CMO. She was beautiful, short hair, blonde. I mean, completely beautiful. And she was Australian. She was quite okay. And there she is now, back in Australia, doing her own thing. I mean, I thank her because she used to be an example for me. She was gentle. She was really, you know, of a high caliber. Still remember. I remember Lana Mitchell over there. I don't remember too many Australians. Most of them were at ANZO. And, okay, well, I remember some Americans. Oh, my God. We had a lot of people there. Yeah. But the point is, where are we heading towards? Because we see all the outpoints, we know stuff, but we cannot form an orbit. You know, a good friend of mine has told me about Hub, and Bard, the singer of the hub. That was a good etymology of the word. Yeah, the hub. We cannot form that. And Hubbard, who was he? He was a guy who painstakingly would write down everything, so even the most idiot of the idiots would understand that, well, that's the way you do it. He researched it, and I really thank him for giving me back my belief that I was a spirit. I am a spirit. I move this body, you know, as I want, you know. I can go to the interview like that or like that. Doesn't matter. I know, and I can handle the body. I give it commands, and it's me.
Yeah.
But I cannot do without Andy.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I got into Scientology through the church, and if it wasn't for those good people in Melbourne, I mean, you know, I would never have, you know, experienced it and stuff. Because there are cities out there that, I mean, I know I disagree with the church, but there are cities out there that don't have churches. You know what I mean? And I'm so lucky that there are people there who are switched on and dedicated, and they delivered courses and that sort of stuff. And I think yeah, what it does is it's like it wakes the being up again, and it puts them back in control of their own universe, and it enables them to solve their own problems, right. Which I think is really important. Like if you think of it from, like, let's say you've got someone who's sort of dumb and they've got like a smart parent that always helps them out and that sort of stuff. Well, if you imagine that dumb kid doing some Scientology and then suddenly they don't need to go to the parent for help, like they can look after themselves, they can solve problems themselves. Scientology doesn't give you the answers to everything, but what it does is it gives you the ability to find answers. You know what I mean? And it's, I think it's like, do you know how sometimes with like cleaning machines, they've got like a self-servicing button or something? Like if you imagine a machine, it's got like a self-servicing button or a self-repair button. I feel like Scientology turns that button on and presses it, so that then you now have your own self-repair button. You can fix yourself and solve your own problems instead of having to go to someone else. And not only that, I mean, people are in the condition of not going to someone else for help. So not only do a lot of people on the earth, not only can they not solve their own problems, they also don't have someone to rely on to solve the problems for them. So they're just in this trapped condition. Right. This trapped condition.
True. It's amazing because what you're saying is true, but it takes a little bit of something else to be able, you know, the definition of rationality?
I'll remember it when you say it.
Well, rationality is the ability to recognize and meet the counter effort applied to the individual. Now, if you're talking about a little dumb kid or some kid that was not lucky enough in his life to get a good education and good parents and stuff like that, it's okay. We fully understand that. But if you're talking about a Thetan, it's a different thing. The counter effort applied to a little kid is different to the counter effort applied to a Thetan who has pledged his life, you know, to help the planet and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about all the people who went through Scientology and got disappointed, and now you see them, you know, falling apart. Well, what's the difference here? Well, there is one point is to recognize the counter effort. Yeah, okay, the church now is acting suppressively, and we recognize that. So to that degree, we are rational because we all left, right? We all left, and we have our freedom. I can chit-chat and, you know, talk with my friend Andy from Australia, me from Greece, and say, you know, something which is a big out point. Actually, it's a high crime to persecute a Scientologist for insisting on standard tech. But people don't know about hierarchy of laws. How would they know in Scientology? They are just, you know, little reasonable beings, you know. They are being told something and they believe it. Okay, that's one part. Recognize the counter effort. Well, the other part, if you want to stay rational, my friend, there's a theta. What is it? If you interpret that motto, is to meet a counter effort. So what's the purpose of the free zone now? The purpose of the free zone, yeah, we have recognized all the crimes, the high crimes, the squirreling and blah, blah, blah of the church. Well, what's the next the purpose? It's to meet a counter effort. It's to give to this kid the ability. And we're doing, I mean, there's many people who are working and they are auditors and this is great. I'm just almost alone in Athens. I don't mind. I told you, there's a Tone 45. He doesn't give a fuck about it. You know, it's all agreement. Okay? I can have, you know, everything. It's not a problem. The problem is when it gets a little bit rougher and you cannot communicate and you cannot go out to the world. And I don't see this from Scientologists, from ex-Scientologists. They are all, you know, like little clusters and they, okay, let's create an org board. Let's make something, but that's going to take, you know, some attention, intention, a little bit of discipline. I'm not saying you would recreate the Sea Org. No, it's not. But it's going to take a little bit of discipline and saying, well, I'm Theo SismanidesExSO and I'm taking over the post of blah, blah, blah. I'm in Oaks and I'm taking the post of blah, blah, blah. And you know what I mean?
I noticed that, yeah, you got to take some post and wear it and do your bit because I think that it's just like, you know, if other PSYOs hadn't rocked up on posts for 20 cents an hour or whatever they were getting paid, I mean, I would never have been able to experience Scientology. And so, like, it's just like, I'm so thankful that people put in that effort. Now, I don't think people should work themselves into the ground and key themselves in, but I think that as long as indies are alive and stuff, we should be contributing something, you know what I mean, to the group, because it's just like it's so, like I know there are heaps of self-help things out there, and I think so many of them are great. I think so many of them are awesome. So many of them are interesting, but Scientology is unique. You know what I mean? And it's different. It's not like if you let this thing go, there's no like substitute for it. It's quite different. Like, I haven't done the top levels of Freemasonry or Rosicrucianism and stuff.
Okay.
But I'm certain that Scientology is quite different. I mean, just from reading LRH's fiction books, I mean, that's a whole different experience and stuff. And so that there's not, I don't think there's much substitutes for it. So we can't let it go. We can't let it slip. And and I haven't fully looked into it, but I'm suspicious that a lot of the self-help stuff doesn't give the person the ability to fix themselves. It just helps the person, which is great. But it's like, you know, we want people having the ability to fix themselves. That's the most important thing.
Oh yeah. Come to basics, Andy. Come to basics. We're talking about Azizedness, right? Okay, we're talking about isness, we're talking about alter isness, and we're talking about not isness. These are the 4 conditions of existence. Everybody knows isness. Okay, there is an isness. This is Theo over here. He claims to be from Athens, Greece, right? Okay, and there is Andy. You know, this is the isness of it. This is an interview, you know, from Andy to Theo. Okay, this is the isness. The alter isness. Everybody knows this. Every Thetan knows how to alter his things. You know, otherwise this universe wouldn't exist. We are masters in alterizing stuff. We are the masters of alterizing stuff. So we say, hey, I got this, and oh, no, that's mine. Oh, that's not a good phone. Okay, oh, that's a good phone. Okay, okay. Well, if you see this as it is, you're gonna vanish this. You're gonna not need it anymore. It's gonna disappear. Who knows about Azizedness? Everybody knows noticeness. And what is noticeness? It's war. It's the way Homo sapiens wants to do away with the masses that he has created by alterizing continuously stuff. And Homo sapiens needs to be educated now into Azizedness. And that's what the Scientology Church was called for. Not for ideal orgs, you know, not for stuff, for teaching people to be able to Aziz stuff. That's all. That's all the mission of LRH comes down to one phrase, Aziz stuff. Life starts with tone 40, he said. Why? Because you immediately Aziz stuff. As much as you confront, you can Aziz it. What's the point of Scientology? Is Azizedness, changing conditions in life. I don't want this, I can Aziz it, okay? It's not that I'm gonna Aziz you or you're gonna Aziz me, and that's a higher level which we're never gonna attain. In order to Aziz things, you have to have an ability. You cannot like make somebody vanish like that, or even that. A little bit of matter. Why? Because you would be tremendously dangerous at that time. So what's the solution of Homo sapiens? Okay, let's not ease stuff. Let's break this down. We cannot Aziz it. Okay, I'm going to harass Andy. I was going to say Alex Jones. Sorry. He has been not eased. Alex Jones. Yeah, that's
well, no, it's kind of funny though, because he has disappeared off the internet. It kind of is like he has been Azized. Yeah.
They're trying to.
No. Hold on a second. But you can explain this more to me, right? Aziz. Do you know the word jinxing?
Sorry.
Do you know like when you jinx something? Have you heard it when people go, "Oh, I jinxed it"?
I jinxed. I don't know the word.
Well, I don't know if they use it in other countries or whatever, but let's say you're working with someone and they go, oh, I'm always here I'm never late to work. Like every day I'm always perfectly on time. And so at that moment they've jinxed it, and the next day they'll come late or something and they'll be like, damn, I jinxed it. And so it's kind of like as-ising. It's like you see something for as it is and it disappears. Yeah, it disappears.
Okay.
And so
How do you spell it? How do you spell the word
I think it's like Jinx. Now that's a really good question. I don't even know if it's in a dictionary.
Okay.
Well, it is in a dictionary, but not the way that I was using it though. It's a real casual thing. What's going on? Hold on. Anyway, it's just maybe what I was using it when I was a kid or whatever would use it or whatever. But anyway, so with Alex Jones, he hasn't been as-is. He's been more not-is. Is that right?
Well, repeat the question. Is more.
Well, as in, has Alex Jones been not-is, basically?
Oh,
is it because people people who don't people who don't like certain data, they, instead of confronting it or whatever, they just not-is it and they try and make that data disappear because they can't handle it. Is that correct? And that's not-ising.
Exactly. What's not-isness? Not-isness, a suppressive not-is. Like you talk to me and I go like, okay, who's talking? You know, I can't hear anything. You know, it's ignoring you. You know, or harassing you, or trying via force to make you stop, to make you vanish. That's not isness. What I can tell you is this, Andy. Since mankind and our race came over after Buddha, after Christ, to teach certain principles, and one of those principles is the as-isness, because that's the bottom line of all Scientology. Okay, you can as-is some stuff, and then as-isness is out of this universe. It can be also a postulate, postulating something and creating it instantly. That's what thetans do. That's a more difficult notion to get. Instant creation. It can be instant destruction by fully duplicating something, like the girl that I had with the scorched finger. I tell her, okay, touch this, okay, do what you did, and says, but oh, it hurts. And I say, this is why we're doing it. And she does this, and she goes, oh, okay, I see it's not the end phenomenon. I say, okay, do it again, please. Thank you, do it again. And she does this, and she goes like, she feels pain, but she goes, whoa, a little bit, you know. And I say, okay, we're heading somewhere here. And I say, thank you, do it again. And she goes, well, it's gone. The pain is gone. What did you do? And I say Scientology, and she goes, "Oh, okay." And I'm not embarrassed or sad anymore, because people. She was a youngster, you know, like 19 years old. She wouldn't ask, "What is Scientology?" I'm not expecting that anymore. I can have it and not have it. So I used to be more impatient.
So she burned her finger on hot water or something, was it?
No, she burned it on an ashtray, a metal ashtray. Someone had poured like a hot wax in it from a candle. And when she tried to pick it up, I mean, she got burned.
Yeah.
And we did that with the ashtray when it got cold, you know, and it was in less than 2 minutes. That's like a miracle now, you know, with just 3 touches, okay? So, as-isness, that's the stuff.
So you got her to touch the same spot where she got burnt.
Right. That's called the contact assist. That's called the contact.
Hold on a sec, though. Was she putting her finger back in the hot candle stuff?
No. Okay. This is the metal ashtray. All right. Yeah. Now it stands on the top of the desk in the bar. And she tries to pick it up. And because there is hot wax in it, the candle,
okay, so the outside.
Someone poured in there,
yeah.
You know, she immediately gets burned.
Now, hold on a second, though. But if you got her to keep on touching that same spot, wouldn't she be burning her finger more and more?
No, because you let the thing get cold.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I've done it on the stove, you know. You let it get cold. You just go to the same location and you try to imitate the conditions as much as possible.
Okay, so if you punched me in the eye, the way to recreate it would be to get your fist and make contact with my eye. Right. A little bit. But don't actually punch again.
No. That's the idea of the contact assist. I've read that someone fell off the deck on Apollo or wherever it was from, you know, and LRH just got him, you know, to duplicate that many times. I mean, obviously he didn't let him fall again, but, you know, do exact the conditions. I've done it with a broken arm here at a hotel, and I was able to drive, and I done it with a burned food, you know, like a whole barrel, an event in Los Angeles of hot coffee, hot coffee, you know, just got poured on my foot, and I was not able to even take off my shoe. And someone tells me, hey, take off your shoe, it's full of hot coffee. I was like that. And then I just did the whole thing again. The barrel was empty, and I pretended, you know, the exact motion. That's duplication. You get aziznes by duplication. If you alter one little thing, you cannot be at the same time for sure, but the thetan and life doesn't, he already says in self-analysis, that's why arthritis and all this stuff. Life after that avoids the painful location, the location where the pain came from. And you get arthritis and you get all these type of things. You know, I've done it with my heart. I used to feel pain here, and I said, okay, let's communicate with my heart. And I feel it like beating like that, and I'm there. I'm just confronting it, and it goes like, oh my God, I say I'm going to die. And at a certain point of time, believe me, it goes like puff, and I feel so relaxed. It's like in auditing. I aziz something. I'm not going to do it again because it was really dangerous. Because all this, you know, stuff here. And I was like, okay, let's confront it. And I put more attention to it, and then it gets like boom, 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 boom. And I go, my God, what? And at the same point of time, honestly, something happened, and it was like a relief. Wow, okay. I mean, then you don't have any cardiac arrest.
So, yeah. So with the hot coffee in your foot, that the assist it didn't actually manage to make any burn marks disappear, did it?
Well, I tell you, I had a mark disappear in another instance of the contact assist. But what it did, I had second rate, I don't know exactly, of a burn, which meant that I had to take tranquilizers, painkillers, and stuff like that. And I didn't get any of them.
Can you just repeat that again? The thing was cutting out a bit.
Yeah, okay. But I'm saying I had a second rate. I mean, a burn of a second rate. I don't know how to say that in English. It was a really bad burn. Okay.
Is that with the foot? You're talking about the foot?
Yeah, with the foot. With the foot.
Okay. Yeah.
With the foot. Okay. And then what happened is the parametrics came, and I didn't need any painkillers or anything. I didn't need anything. The pain was gone. And I didn't have anything, you know.
Now, so were they really surprised that you didn't need any painkillers?
Well, it surprised me, but I used to be in the series for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah, but were the sorry, I meant were the paramedics surprised?
Well, kind of, yeah, you know, we have to do that. Are you sure and stuff like that? I said, no, I don't need that. You know, there was a distance in the hotel that I went to see the parametrics. So I did this whole distance 2 or 3 times. I just tried to duplicate exactly, because that's the point. You know, Homo sapiens cannot duplicate. It feels, maybe we have implanted, so we cannot duplicate. Misduplication is the law on this planet. You know, somebody says blah, and he's not understood, not even duplicated. You said blah. Well, no, you didn't say blah. He says blah.
Yeah, I noticed. I noticed when I was around someone who was 1-1, and yeah, they would just misduplicate. Like they see you know, a brick and they call it an apple. But it's not that obvious. It's more with like abstract ideas and communications and all that sort of stuff, and they just don't see it for what it is, and they see it, and it's really funny because it's like, wow, this person's like just can't see reality, and the thing is that they're not aware of it, right? So it makes me wonder, how many things am I misduping as well? Like, how many things can I just not see? And that's where it probably goes really, really deep. Like, we're probably so implanted up our asses. Like, we've probably got so many things going on, and it's just a matter of a level and getting better and better and better. people who are maybe tone 4, they might be, they're not anywhere near as bad as a 1-1, but they're probably still really bad compared to someone who's higher on the scale.
Let me tell you something. I hope this doesn't come across as an evaluation for you. Okay? Well, how many things could LRH duplicate if he didn't have Scientology organizations and the Sea organization? Would he be able to duplicate too many things? Just
without, basically, you're saying without the group, would he be able to duplicate things?
Exactly.
Well, the group helped him in the 50s and the 60s and stuff.
Right. That's called multiple viewpoint. So in a body, mark down in a body, Andy, don't blame yourselves because you are implanted up your arse, you know. Yes, you are. How? What's the solution? It's the third dynamic, a multiple viewpoint. So I can duplicate what's the weather here, and I already told you. If you're going to come, let me know. You know, you have a multiple viewpoint via the third dynamic. As long as the other terminal is trustful and it's not misleading. And that's the point with Miscavige. He was trusted to be a terminal, you know, to carry on LRH's mission. And not only didn't he duplicate, he altered stuff.
Yeah.
And that's beef with the X's. That's the beef. And I'm an example of it. It's not a little thing to claim that you have been. You know, that's a riff on my head. I have been, you know, declared for insisting on the application of HCOBs. Come on, guys, what is this?
Yeah, I know, yeah. There's something that I've always had against lies, and it's alter is, but it's, yeah, essentially lies or little twistings and stuff, because even when it's like stuff that's sort of harmless or someone's doing the lie in order to not offend someone or something, it's just like, no, because if you allow lies of any sort, then next minute everyone's lying about everything, and then we're in this epic trap condition where there's just lies everywhere, and you want to go and find out what bread to buy, and there's lies there, and you want to go and you want to study law, and there's lies there, and it all just becomes this crazy condition. And I think that's a big thing about the truth about planet Earth, is that it's like the place where you know, the game is trying to find out what is and isn't a lie, and trying to get around the lies. You know what I mean? It's like there's all these bombs going off everywhere, and you're like, oh my God, try and avoid this lie, and don't get confused. And a lot of people get confused by a lie, and they get stuck in a lie, and they get stuck just doing something ridiculously for their whole life just because they're stuck in a lie. But anyway, but about the assist. So this contact assist with your no, it was a touch assist, right, with your foot.
No,
okay. Contact assist with your foot. So you did any scarring become less because of what you did? I'm just interested.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was a wound, and then it became like a pink color. I mean, it was really much better. I didn't have to take painkillers. It was a second stage of a burn. I don't know how to say it in English. And I can tell you another example. Okay, I had some paper. Hold on a second,
but with that, so yeah. So with the hot, how did you recreate the hot water?
The hot water. Coffee, no, there was no need to recreate any hot water. If you put again hot water, you have to understand, approximate the conditions. If you get burned on a stove, you're not going to have the stove hot again.
Yeah, so how did you approximate having your foot burnt with hot coffee?
I just got the barrel. Let's say this is the barrel, and that's my foot. Okay, it's empty.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on the truck. Okay, I get the truck, the barrel from the truck. And, okay, that's much easier because it's empty now. it's not weighing 100 kilos or so. So I just do this thing, you know, and I approximate it. And then what did I do then? Okay, the coffee spills all my food. Oh, I do this, and I go to the parametrics, you know, and it's closed because it was closed. And I come back. I do this again.
How many times did you have to do it?
Oh, I had to do it 4 or 5 times.
Now, hold on a second.
People might think that I'm crazy.
I would have thought that you would just recreate the actual moment when the hot coffee touched your foot, and you wouldn't include walking over to the paramedics.
No, I did the whole scene. I did the whole scene because the pain was so bad as I was walking, you know, over there. So I did the whole incident. This is an incident, you know? Yeah. This is an incident. You have to get the full incident.
And what was it like when the pain went away?
What was it like? When I'm back at the birthing, and I get a cognition why this all happened. Because I was removed off post as a recruiter, and I had this accident. I had a suppression on my lines. The accident was not there anymore. And that's what I am talking about. If we are going to have OTs, we're not going to, you know, go back in the past and find out who we were in, I don't know, life number 10,000. You know what I mean? We're going to go back, and we're going to use that in order to understand and move forward. And I understood that this whole accident happened to me because I had been demoted from a recruiter. And Real Laplaine, a Canadian guy who is now in Switzerland, and he's off lines, but he's probably under the radar. I have him as a friend. He's an author now. He was the recruiter international, in charge of all recruiters. And he came to me and he said, Theo, you're going back to post. And at that moment I had a relief, and it was all gone. You know what I mean? Accidents happen because there is suppressiveness.
Yeah.
There's suppression.
Yeah, so you went PDS.
Yeah, I went PDS, and that was it. There was nothing more to understand about the wound or anything. I didn't have to take painkillers. Okay, I had the scorched foot or something. That was about it.
Okay, so after you recreated it 5 times, what made you stop?
We're talking about assistance now. We're talking about assistance, right?
Yeah.
With contact assist, you can achieve assistance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
that's the essence. Okay.
So when you got up to the 5th time that you'd recreated it, when did you realize you'd EP'd it?
When I realized
how did you realize that you'd EP'd the contact assist?
I EP'd. Okay, EP'd. Well, there was no pain. There was no pain. The pain was gone. And I can tell you another example with a piece of paper. With a piece of paper, because you said the wound was gone. You know, sometimes you can cut your finger with paper. Yeah. Has it ever happened to you? Yeah. Well, it happens. It happens. Okay. Once I happened to cut my finger with a piece of paper. Okay. So I do the contact assist. I tell you, the scarch, or whatever it's called, it was gone. The wound.
Okay, that's interesting.
I swear.
I think that's interesting as well, because I think I might have experienced. Yeah, same. I think I've experienced a similar thing before. I didn't do a contact assist, but I did try and postulate, and I did notice that I was like, hold on a second, has that actual damage disappeared? And it was like, wow, that's interesting. You know what I mean? And I know these things are possible, because I've got a toothbrush that I've been using for 4 years and it's never aged, and I've got the actual physical universe evidence of this toothbrush. Now, it's hard for someone else, because they could say, Andy, you could have bought that a week ago and be lying, but I know for myself, like I'm not tricking myself, you know, I know that this toothbrush is not aging. And so I know I've got the evidence, it's awesome, that these things are possible. You can change the meshed universe. And, you know, obviously it doesn't seem to be too easy, but it's possible. That's why Jesus would say stuff like, you know, all about belief and faith and how you can move a mountain and that sort of stuff. He's the real deal. I believe he could turn water into wine. Like, I reckon that he probably did it because he was much better than us, but he could fucking do it, you know?
Right. The higher you go, the more surprises you have. I used to be at ASHO, and I tell you, there was an instant, you know this process where it says, think of a static, conceive a static. I think it's in which book is it? Creation of Human Ability?
It sounds like that, yeah, it sounds like that.
Yeah, conceive of a static. So I'm there at ASHO and putting stamps. I'm in HCO, a recruiter, but also helping out in HCO. So I'm putting stamps. It's early afternoon, 5 or 6 o'clock, and there's a mountain up from the window. You know, this is the view. So I'm putting stamps, you know, and it's a nice process because you go like tack, and you do production. It's very easy production. I wish we can do that in the free zone. There's a flow. So I'm high, and I'm also, I have word cleared words. I have started word clearing words like off. Okay, I'll give you an example. A lover of flowers. I'm going like, I did my key to life, you know, just by myself, not all of it. Like, what the fuck is this? I know how to, this is the lover, this is, well, the flower, okay? What the fuck is off?
Yeah.
What does off mean? You know, and I go like, how do I demonstrate off? Oh my God, and I'm like, in the courtroom now, this is why I used to read one paragraph, because I was clearing little words.
Yeah.
And off, tell you, and I will go back to the conceive a static thing. Off means he loves flowers. It just, you know, it just shows what the object is. It shows action. He loves flowers. A reader of books, he reads books. That's all. And the moment I get back, you have to do it yourself and not somebody else tell you. There's a whole mass going off, and suddenly this word off, which is a symbol, which is very low on the tone scale, on the second page, symbols, needing bodies, that's the awareness characteristic of symbols. You need bodies, goes off, and I don't need this anymore. It's not noise. It's lover of books means loves books. Lover of flowers loves flowers. Reader of books, he reads books. That's all. It shows action. Okay. So I've word cleared myself, and I'm at a very good point, because word clearing is powerful. I'm trying to get it, you know, to schools here and a little bit, like get the people here in Greece understand it, but nobody pays attention. Nothing. Anyway, so I'm putting stamps there, and suddenly I go, okay, I've read this conceive of a static. There's no mass, there's no wavelength, there is no space, and there is no time. And honest to God, Andy, as it's afternoon and I look out the window, there's this mountain of LA, I don't know which mountain it was, I suddenly feel there is a flash of a moment where I'm out of the universe maybe. There is time and there's no time and there's infinite time. I just go exterior. And that keeps on for 10 or 15 days. I can even predict little things. Little things like, okay, now the door is gonna open. And definitely the door opens, and so who comes in the basement of Lebanon Hall? It was like Marty Rothbard. Marty Rothbard was the RTC inspector. And I said, the door is gonna open. And there the door opens, 1993, maybe, 1992, 92. And there comes Marty Rothbard. And I can say things and they happen. I'm the recruiter, and I feel very big, and I go to prospects, and I smash them because I'm knuckle-headed. I don't know stuff. I'm big, I have power, I'm exterior, I have space, but as I go to the prospect to recruit him, I don't know how to handle him gently.
Okay, look, I've got to ask you to go back and say this experience all again from the start, because I want to get good detail on this.
Okay. Well, I conceive of a static in an afternoon.
So hold on a second. So you're reading the book, and it asked you to conceive of a static, right?
Yeah.
And you did that.
Okay. Okay. And I know the definition of a static.
Yeah.
And I'm very watchful. I'm very careful with the definitions and the words. So I say, okay, how could it be? I'm trying to find out how are things in the real universe. When I say lover of books, what is this of? Oh, of means it shows action.
No. I get how you cleared the word of, but then when you went on to doing this thing of conceiving of a static,
right?
Actually,
right.
Like you, so you were reading it, and you did that act. You conceived of a static, and at that moment, it actually made you go exterior.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I could discipline myself to have the notion exactly of what a static is. Like no mass, no wavelength, no space, no time.
And
that's the definition of.
And what did it look like where you were?
Well, physically I was in my body, but then in the horizon, as I saw it, there was like a thing like that, like something like that. And in it, there was no time and infinite time. I cannot explain it. It was like suddenly something happened in the horizon, and after that, I felt like you done auditing, right? You feel this relief, okay, of a certain charge going off. I had a cognition of what could be a static, okay? And after that, I felt so strong, honestly,
Hold on a second, though. While you had that cognition, right, and while you were experiencing and conceiving of a static, did you go out of this universe?
Well, I conceived of no time and infinite time. That's all I can say. I didn't go out of this universe. I had no other picture or anything, or no picture. I felt after that my body was in shape and I was bigger than the body. I could walk.
So you were still getting communication channels from your body, but at the same time you were experiencing what it was like to be outside of the matrix almost.
Right. I was very light. I was very light. That's true. And words used to irritate me if I couldn't get them. Like words were a noise to me. That's very interesting, because I was not educated enough. And I was not educated enough because I used to go to prospects as a recruiter and go like, whoa, no. That's why Rach maybe says the Theban might be very powerful, but he was knuckle-headed. And I felt it, because I couldn't recruit jack shit, I had to be educated. And after 18 years now, or now it's 20 or more years, 25 years since that happened, I still recall that, but I say, okay, well, what's the use of it? Well, the use of it is okay, but you have to be educated too. You have to understand the other guy. Because I was very lonely, and at a certain point of time, at the master of ASO, I said, okay, that's it, fuck it. I don't want to know what's happening in 2 minutes. I almost knew what would happen in 2 minutes, not in many instances, but I had 4 or 5 instances. I could predict the little future. And I said, no, fuck it. And I postulated the contrary, and it all disappeared. Because it was painful. Being knuckle-headed and knowing the future, Donald Trump, somehow, or whatever. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. All these politicians, they're knuckle-headed. They think they are, you know, they rule the world. They can do a lot of harm. They can do a lot of harm, I tell you, because they are knuckle-headed.
Like
and they are not even
yeah, in case you know anyone, people that are listening don't know what knucklehead means. It means like you're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Can
Knuckles. Is this Knuckles? I think these are the Knuckles, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Knuckle-headed. Well, yeah. Okay.
So hold on a second. So after you experienced this moment of conceiving of a static, you were then kept in a condition that hanged around for 2 weeks or something, did you say?
Yeah.
And just explain that condition again.
Well, first of all, I was out of my body. My space was much bigger than the body. Okay? And
now, did you do any interesting things like viewing your body from a distance or anything?
No, I could predict things. I could small things. It wasn't too big, but I can tell you, I had an idea that if I felt good, the weather would be good. If I felt bad, the weather would be bad. I tell you, there was less noise. There was a simplicity of life. There was action. There were things. I can't say that I had, theta perceptics, per se. No, but I did feel, my space much bigger, and I could predict things. I tell you, Marty Rothman walks. I say, now the door's gonna open, and there's 2 doors like that, and there's the RTC inspector. And by the way, where is Marty Rothman now? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? To pick up another subject, Marty Rothman and Mark, what's his name? Mike Rinder.
Well, hold on a second. I don't want to go into another topic. I'll write that down. Hold on. Marty Rothman. Okay, hold on. So hold on. But with this, did you sort of remain exterior for like 2 weeks or something?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was walking around literally, and I felt powerful. My body was really light, And, in the Sea Org, I used to have these experiences like quite often.
Yeah.
The group was there for me,
Yeah.
And
when you predicted the future, I'm just interested in what that was like. Like, as in, did you just have the idea pop in your head the door's going to open up and then it would open up?
Yeah, that was a very instance that I remember. And then there were a few instances I don't recall it anymore. It was a little future. It wasn't like, okay, now I'm there, But I tell you, I said the door is going to open, and the door opens, and it happens to people. I mean, they don't have to be exterior. It happens to some people. But I was really aware of this condition. I could predict little things, and I was like 2 seconds in the future. Let's say this. Let's say this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to exaggerate that, because some people go like, some of your fans or not fans are going to go like, okay, Andy with Theo, No, I could predict little things.
Yeah. No, I know, because I've had similar stuff happen, and what's really interesting is, for me, what I experienced was something like 2 seconds ahead of time as well. It was just an interesting thing. I noticed it was like 1 or 2 seconds. It was like a moment before. It's like the idea would come into my head, then a moment later it would happen, and it's like, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
So, but what about your ability to control the matrix, for example? Like, did you say that you actually noticed you could just make a postulate occur straight away?
Yeah, or make a postulate, or I could, but then more than that, I could predict, what was coming. That's the way I can put it. And And apart from that, at that moment, I didn't know much stuff. I know now the difference is, to me, that NOT cannot do it on himself, with himself, you know, he just by himself. That's the lesson of life that I get. Not even LRA could have done it by himself. That's the lesson that I'm getting. I'm not through the body because I never had this experience, you know, going off the body and looking at myself, except when I was young. I have pictures of that. I'm completely exterior, and I see my little body as a 3-year-old kid, you know. I remember that. That I remember.
Hold on a
But
second.
after a while,
Can you repeat that again? Sorry, repeat that again.
Yeah, I'm saying that I never had the experience as an adult of going off the body, completely exterior, and looking at the body as a thetan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, having an out-of-the-body experience.
Yeah.
But I remember as a young kid having that because I have pictures. I have pictures of a kid. You know these little beds that kids have with the, I don't know how you call them.
Yeah, the railing, the sort of barrier thing, yeah.
Right. You know, so I see myself, I see my body in there. I see my body in there. And apart from that, I cannot say that I had this out-of-the-body experience in my adult life. But that experience, certainly me, within the body, having a whole space, filling up the room. If I did work clearing, that would happen again. The light would come on, you know, illuminating when I had the cognition of little words. So that's also important. And then the point is that what I understand right now that I'm 58 years in this body is that a group of people can keep one with the other moving on. And this affinity that we have and we share with this reality is very important because it gets you going. I told you about the seer symbol, you know. It's 3 seagulls. The 3 seagulls on the seer game represent the third dynamic. What I'm experiencing right now is I can be tone 45 or say that I'm tone 45 and I know all agreement or I know half agreement and I don't give a shit about it. True or not true, it doesn't matter. One person alone cannot do it. This is why Miscavige is winning, because he has kept all the, you know, the cover of the third dynamic. Dismantling it, he's destroying it, but he has kept the third dynamic. Man cannot do it on his own. Exterior or no exterior. So Jesus Christ appeared after Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? And people say a lot about Jesus Christ. There's also stuff that LRA supposedly wrote about Jesus Christ. So,
are you referring to the the OT8 thing that he might have written that we don't know because it was released by the church? Just out of curiosity, what is your opinion on that document? Do you think it's forged?
I have no clue.
Okay, yeah.
Andy, I have no clue.
I'm the same as well. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I can believe either. I can believe either way. Look, if someone did fake that document, which would make sense because they'd changed the other lower OT levels and stuff, and they'd released them. So why would they suddenly, you know, be releasing some honest, trustworthy tech? It makes more sense for me to believe that it's bullshit.
Well, I don't know. I can tell you one thing. What I believe is you know, nature and trees. If mankind wasn't destroying nature, I heard today on Facebook that we have killed 86% of the animals, of the planet, like lions, elephants, tigers. That's incredible. 86%. Is that a real stat? If that's true, man is mad. I mean, as a species, I'm talking about now. As a group think, you know, is mad. 86%.
Well, I reckon.
I cannot say. What I can say is that nature left alone wouldn't kill 86%. All right. So I don't believe in man. First of all. Secondly, I believe in nature, that it has a natural course, and whoever produce will yield some products. And Christianity is not yielding any products anymore. Even Scientology is not yielding any products anymore. What I want to say is that I judge Hubbard, Christ, Buddha, or whoever by their teachings. At least Hubbard created something that's amongst us, even though we don't have the administrative tech and we are bullshitting and we're like, just passing time and saying, oh, okay, well, we at least said this. The prison has some responsibilities if we want to make some serious stuff. But I'm just saying that Christianity and Christ, from what he taught, what's the product? What is the product? God is gone on vacation. He is missing. Nobody knows where he is right now. There's no God, and there's nobody there to replace him. Earth, you know this, that Earth has put, now I'm joking, of course, but Earth, that's a joke of mine. Earth has put a big sign, and saying, God is needed. Big sign, how do you call these lights, the neon lights, with neon lights across the universe. And nobody is taking the post. Why? Because man has to mature. And in order to get mature, you have to have a gradient. And man learns, Homo sapiens learns from his mistakes, always. Maybe there's going to be a third world war, sooner or later, in order to notice the masses that we have created. There's many masses right now. Do you notice, Andy, that there is too much mass around? There's mobile phones, there's noise, and thank God nobody called us during the interview. I have put it on the no sound thing.
Yeah.
There's too much mass. How do you think Homo sapiens will erase that mass? By a business? He doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't even know how to handle a disagreement with somebody. He's gonna smash him and beat him and take a gun and kill him. That's his way. Always. War has been a solution to kill the masses. Masses in whatever definition you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting rid of masses. A Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, was saying war was the the father of all, because you are being taught by war. Now, I'm turning the discussion a little bit into political, because Greece is suffering from the European Union. We haven't been the best guys. We have gotten loans and stuff like this, but there is a lot of natural gas in the Eastern Mediterranean. I'm following on Twitter this link, Eastern Mediterranean. There's a lot of gas. There's Americans, there's Italians now, there's Russians, there is French, there's Israelis, there's Turkish. Turkey is left outside of all it, and they're protesting. That's Homo sapiens. Oh, I like your shirt. and I don't have a shirt, or what is this? Let me see. This vase that you have over there, all this picture in the background, so I'm going to grab it for you. I mean, that's ridiculous. When you educate the citizen, and I do appreciate that you're doing all this, because I've been following you on Facebook, you know, for 5 or 4 years, that you're more philosophical, that you're thinking and you're saying, oh my God, I don't know, do you have children?
No.
I have two. I have two. What kind of world am I gonna listen to? Am I gonna say go to Andy Knowlton in 20 years and I'm gonna be out or you know what I mean? Man is immature.
Yeah, this is what concerns me, and actually, what does like key me in and stuff is the dwindling spiral, really, because it's just concerning. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, this is worrying. Like we are in a really nutty. I think we're in a really nutty place, and I really want to hear your opinion on this. Like, do you think things are getting better, or do you think they're getting worse?
What are you talking about? Things aren't getting better overall. My theory is this.
Sorry, what'd you say? Did you say things are getting better overall?
Worse.
So
things are getting worse.
That's what I've been noticing as well, and I'm finding it upsetting because I thought Trump might have been able to reverse this, and I thought maybe there's an enlightenment happening at the moment, and I have noticed a lot of people are getting switched on, but at the same time, it's almost like it's too late. Things have already gotten too messed up.
Yeah. Once I thought that Trump might be the reincarnation of Aaron Howard, but because on that reference, OTA says I'm going to come back as a...
I know, and he does have this massive beingness. It's amazing. Like, really, like if you look at Trump, it's just like, what the hell? Like, him winning that election was impressive.
Okay.
You know. Anyway.
Maybe he's undercover. Hopefully, anyway. That's just a joke.
What'd you say? He's undercover. What?
Well, maybe he is undercover. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least Trump has managed to derail the whole agenda of the New World Order. It's like apparent. We don't know really for sure.
This is what I think, though. I think that he's just slowed it down. And I don't want to admit this is what I have real problems with, because I'm sort of, I guess I'm not easing it, but I'm trying to avoid how bad I see things getting, and I just can't handle it. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I don't want to say publicly, look, I think it's all going to go down the toilet, because I don't want to encourage that idea. I want to just keep on saying, no. Keep your postulates positive and stuff. But I'm at that point where, like, I'm thinking, oh no, I think I'm actually going to admit it. I think that things might actually go really bad, and that I'm not going to bother postulating anymore. I'm just going to do my own thing.
Yeah, well, the first thing that one a rational man would recognize is that no politician has ever acknowledged philosophy except before they are dead, or in their deathbed. They have never accepted wisdom except for Mahatma Gandhi, or Martin Luther King and people like that. Whoever has tried to get out of the box or think out of the box has been assassinated, like Kennedy maybe, and a few others, and Mahatma Gandhi. So what I believe right now is mankind is going to go to the AI, to the artificial intelligence, with whatever consequences that might bring, and no politician is able enough or wise enough. And that's the frustrating point and the really alarming thing, that no politician is wise enough to even say, I don't know. Because, you know, politicians in the past, like the leader, the chief, had another guy on his org board. You remember? The magician. Do you remember these ages? The chief and the magician. That they had the I don't know if you call them the magician, but in Indian tribes, they had the magician.
Yeah.
Where are the magicians now? The economists and the scientists. These are the magicians. Who does Trump have next to him? Does he have any magician? No. Does he have any philanthropist? No. Does he have any philosophist? No. Philosopher? No. Where are the magicians? At least at those times, the chiefs were wise enough to not know that weren't as wise as the magician. Because that's another hat. And now they're arrogant enough and ignorant enough to move on with magicians like economists and scientists. I wrote about what's his name? Hawking. Hawking, the guy who was like this big scientist. Oh, he was on the wheelchair. Yeah. You know, he died recently. He was crippled. And if I can bring it up, you know, he would say, well, we have evidence that man, it's the brain that gives all the stimuli to man. Because surgery, open surgery, was done to certain people, and from that surgery, the doctors were stimulating the patient, and the patient, you know, if their brain was stimulated, the patient's brain, they would move their hand or move their foot and stuff like that. So we know that there is no outside agency that does that, but it's the brain. And I thought, hey, there's an out point here. There's a missing, omitted. You know, the first out point is omitted data or omitted terminal. Who is stimulating the brain? The doctor, by electricity. The doctor. If there was no doctor, come on, how would the patient's brain be stimulated? So Hawking, though he researched the whole universe, couldn't get this simple idea. Like he said, because he has been promoted by modern religion. What's the religion today? It's science. Yeah. Science, quote, quote. Science comes from Theo, the Latin where Scientology comes from, right? Yeah. Theo, C-I-O, means to cut something in the middle and know from inside. The Greeks, another term, the Greeks say episteme, epistemology. Maybe it's a word that you're familiar with, epistemology, episteme, which means I'm standing from above and I know what's happening down. Yeah. You know, there's a difference. Greeks started from above. The Anglo-Saxon started, you know, from inside.
Yeah. So hold on a second. So I'm just wondering, from your point of view, though, do you think we're going to end up going into some crazy futuristic version of 1984, or do you think things will just get maybe worse and then eventually get better, or maybe just get worse and never get better? What do you think?
Well, it depends. I'm not going to say it all depends on the free zone, but I could say that there's no other movement serious enough than the free zone, than the independent Scientologists. I cannot stress that enough, because number one, knowing that they know the technology. Number two, knowing that the technology works. Number three, knowing that mankind has no idea of what the technology is all about. Number four, knowing that Scientology Church is doing everything it can to throw people out. Well, that tells me that the independent field has a big responsibility to get out, to get an order, to promote the technology to organizations, big organizations, and them to understand the basics. What the church is doing, but on another level because they get paid and they get good money. We don't have the money. Now, apart from the independent field, there is many thetans on this planet who, of course, are big thetans, and they're going to do everything in their power to avoid a nuclear disaster or a third world war, and I believe in those thetans too. But uneducated, they're not going to make it. Because it's things in Scientology that are unique, and it takes quite a lot of ARC for someone. I was disseminated by people for a year or so. It is going to take time on a one-to-one basis. So we better get organized. That's my notion.
Well, I definitely agree with you, because out of all the other movements in the world that can stop the dwindling spiral and start reversing it, do any of them have like word clearing technology, for example? Because how can you teach people esoteric information if they don't even know what the word esoteric means? Like, that's a big thing. And I studied a little bit of Rosicrucianism, and I was like, oh, this is interesting and stuff. But of course, there's no disclaimer at the start that teaches you how to clear a word. Only the Scientologist could study Rosicrucianism, think with it, and like get something out of it. You know what I mean? And well, I mean, I imagine a WOG could get, you know, benefit from it and all that sort of stuff. But it's just the word clearing, I think, is a huge thing, especially now that we're facing this crazy 1984 scenario where they delete words and they change definitions of words. Only the Scientologist will be able to spot the alter is and the changing of all these words, and that's really important. You know what I mean? And maybe that's why L. Ron Hubbard came here and all this sort of stuff, because they either knew what was coming, or they looked at, or something, maybe people who are out of this universe or something, you know, they looked at it and they thought, shit, this place is going absolutely down the toilet. Someone needs to be sent there, or someone needs to be contacted who's there in order to do something and either prevent it going down the toilet or make it easier for the people who are living on Earth. Because we will either go into this crazy 1984 scenario, or we so you can go into the crazy 1984 type scenario, but there can be no way of getting out. But if there is a little bit of hope, if there is a little bit of a movement that can get you out, that's much better. Like, that's awesome. And that's what we're sort of in at the moment, where, you know, it's all right for us because there is a way that we can get out, or there's a way we can get, there is some hope, basically. Anyway.
Right. Well, Andy, I cannot really agree more to what you said. Word clearing technology is awesome. It's basic. It's needed. I have 2 kids at public school. I have indoctrinated them to look up words, and that's my salvation, you know, as a father. Nobody else hears, too few. There's not a lot of people to do it. It's a survival of the fittest, so we cannot do it. We don't have time and blah, blah, blah. But I'm coming back to this independent field and saying, you know, what's a general? You know, a general, you know the word strategy? You know the etymology of the word strategy? That's a Greek word. Strategy, and it comes from 2 Greek words. The first is stratos. Strata is another strata. Stratos means military. And strategy, AG, the last part comes from Greek word which means leader of the army. So the strategy is made up by some people who have an inkling of a strategy, of how to lead a whole bunch of people towards an end. You know, that's strategy. So if there is no strategy, if there is no, I'm not going to say about soldiers and posts and the same old fucking shit, you know, of the Sea Org and the Scientology organizations. Maybe after 20 years, free zone, if we start having a strategy and we start applying the org board for real, because free zoners, okay, ethics they may have, but their own personal thing. They cannot affect the fourth dynamic. They can affect a little third dynamic, not more. So their ethics is okay. But the admin technology is completely missing. Completely missing. The Church of Scientology did so much harm to this technology. It's such an engram, the third dynamic engram, admin. You talk about people, to talk to people about org boards and admin, and they go bananas, you know? And now you have to rehabilitate that purpose by having a very loose thing and say, hey, Andy, you want to be the PR guy for Scientology, but sometimes, yes, you can do your own thing, but sometimes you may want to read this stuff because that's coming from the big council, I don't know, whatever, and you have to, you know, convey that. I mean, there is no creation in the church. There is altruism of the admin. You told me that the ideal orgs have an altruist org board, which is very frustrating because that's going to fuck up a lot of things. And we have all the tech, but we don't have the intention anymore to get on with our third dynamic and say, hey, Andy, I've been knowing you for 4 years. Yeah, Theo, okay, well, let's communicate. And the communication is not just an interview. It's, Andy, we have something that we want you to say because you have the means, you have the visual, you have the microphones, you have the, you know, your channel, and you have your YouTube channel. We want you to broadcast it. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's, this symbol as a body, Andy, is not going to last forever. Mass, it doesn't last forever. I mean, the dimension points. Have you read the factors? Do you remember the factors?
Yep.
Okay. And the dimension points perish. But the viewpoints never perish. But the viewpoints think they are dimension points. I know I'm not this thing here. It's not a bad, you know, symbol, but it's a dimension point that I'm putting out there so that an Andy Notes can see me and say, hey, there is a, you know, there is a Thetan there and there's someone alive and he can, you know, say some things through this speaker. This is a speaker kind of thing, you know. So this is a dimension point, and the dimension points perish. This dimension point you're not going to see maybe for 10, 5, or 20 years, and maybe it's not going to last that long even. So what's the point? The point is what's behind this dimension point? What LRH wanted to put there? LRH wanted to put their knowledge. LRH wanted to put there not just data, certainty. Knowledge is certainty. And my overt of magnitude of omission is if I cannot persuade the free zone to say, hey guys, this is not a walk in the park. Just because you exited the Sea Org or the Scientology doesn't mean that you don't continue to be a Thetan. You want to be a thetan in 2018? Well, it's harder. There's no LRH around to pamper you. There's no LRH around. There's no LRH around. I can repeat it. There's no LRH around. It's you and me. Just you and me. You want it? I mean, the era is not easy. Okay? There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, there is. So, you don't want to be a thetan anymore? Yeah, sure, I can understand that. You have gone unreasonable. You cannot even recognize the counter effort applied to the individual, much less can you meet the counter effort. Well, as long as I live in this body, and thank you very much for this interview, that might be dramatic as standard tech sounds these days. Have you ever heard of standard tech lately? No. It sounds dramatic. We're moving in an era where there's no rules. And I can tell you, I can print you out, I can read you the rules of a game. It's in the PDCs, maybe in another interview if you want to have it, because that's awesome. How do you make pawns out of people? You just make them ignore the rules, not know the rules. And how do
you make what out of people?
Pawns, P-A-W-N-S.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pieces. How do you make a piece? You just make them like ignore the rules. And what's the definition of a player? A player knows the rules and abides by them, follows them. And what happens in this era is we don't even know what the rules are and what the game is. So LRH left his hat and left the rules of the game and what the game is all about. If someone wants to attend the Church of Scientology for 80 years or something, you know, and know about ARC and how they could be good guys and good girls, good boys and good girls, good for him. But these are not the basics. LRH gave the basics, and that's what I want to concentrate upon, that we teach, that we let people understand LRH's teachings, the basics. And that's not dramatic, that's not kind of fanatic, okay? That's not radical. That's just a business. These things exist. I have understood a lot of the basics, and I apply them in life.
I think it was interesting how you said that some people can't even understand the counter forces, right? Let alone be able to counter the counter forces, right? Exactly. And that's a really big point. That's what I'm saying, because
to meet the counter force.
Yeah.
It's another thing to counter it. Another to meet. They countered Alex Jones. Didn't meet the needs for democracy. Well, they don't meet the need for democracy when they notice you. Of course, you have to be maybe a little bit corrected on things, but not to be by being made completely wrong. No. You did something, fine. It was a mistake, it was correct. We don't see that. We see that there is an urge in Andy Noach to say something. What do you want to say, sir? Come on and say it. Come on and say it. Go to the Australian national TV and express your views. You know what I mean? Communication, the freedom of communication. The Greeks, the ancient Greeks, were those who taught the freedom of communication and the freedom of the tolerance. Greeks were tolerant. Now the world has become intolerant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Greeks were one of the first civilizations to have so much tolerance against the across the other view. You can express your view.
Well, this whole like what's the word? Political correctness movement is just encouraging intolerance. It's encouraging people to be not accepting of. So it's saying be tolerant of gay people and transgenders, but all these other things don't be tolerant of those viewpoints and that sort of stuff. So it's actually wrecking the whole idea of tolerance.
Right. This is neo-Marxism in the works, Andy.
Yeah, exactly.
I've read the book about the European Union. I've read a very good book about an economist in the European Union. It's Corey. I will send it on Amazon, and the title is the Rotten Heart of Europe, and he calls the European Union the new Soviet Union.
Yeah,
this guy.
Absolutely, it's completely that. And what's so anyway, it's just, I mean, England can't even leave. They tried to leave, and they're not being allowed to leave. Like it shows completely that that the citizens, they don't give a shit about the citizens. It's all about the bureaucrats getting their money and all that sort of stuff.
You know what Connolly says? This author of the book, he says that the English won the Second World War, so the Germans want to punish them. And the French, because they cannot do that alone, they saw that they can be in cahoots with the Germans and do it. They want to punish them because they were the winners. And the Anglo-Saxon spirit, which lives also in Australia, is much freer than the German Deutsch spirit, which Greece has suffered from a lot on the Second World War, you know, and other countries have suffered from. Well, the British were exiled because they're the winners of the Second World War, so they don't want a Europe which is free enough. The Germans are ahead. And we know who the Germans are. Bottom line. There's a Hitler. Okay.
Well, but I think it seems like the anti-European Union movement is growing and growing because more people are realizing it's crap. So all I just hope that more countries get out of it and that sort of stuff. But yeah, this is crazy times where there's so much stuff suppressing a person. Just understanding it and knowing what it is enough, let alone actually managing to rise above it and all that sort of stuff. And I think more and more people are going into overwhelm on it, and they're just not easing, and they're just falling out because it's just so deep. It's so crazy what's going on. But I want to ask you about so with your declare, like back to what you were talking about at the start. What specifically did you get declared for?
Well, I got declared because I literally insisted on the application of specific ASIO bulletins.
Now, but how does that? But why is that declare worthy? I understand it might be maybe it means that you're worthy of having to leave the Sea Org or something, but like why is that actually enough for you to get a declare? Like, did you get like the yellow piece of paper in the mail and that sort of stuff?
Right. Okay. Well, actually, that's the real reason. But the sequence of events was like I insisted on this application of these specific HCOBs on translations. I was yanked off post. Okay, as I told you, at Copenhagen, I was put to mess work. Then I was promoted to port captain after I said that, okay, I didn't want to leave the Sea Org at the moment. I kept that in my chest, that the HOBs were not being applied, and I repented. I said, okay, I silenced the whole thing. So I was promoted as a port captain, which is a equivalent to a PES, a Public Executive Secretary, Div 6, whole Div 6 executive, right? So I was going out in Copenhagen, pretending that the thing with the HOBs was okay, and the post was vacant at the moment, and it had to do with taking all the immigrants, the Russians who were coming to the Sea Org and filling out their papers, you know, at the local offices in Copenhagen. But I used to go to the library. Internet was on at that time, 1998, 1999. So I was going in and I would see the Free Zone and Bill Robertson and all the things that Bill Robertson was saying. All right. So after that, I spoke to a certain person named, I think, Robert Dam, who was gotten out of the Sea Org because he was an asshole, but he was a person who kept a familiar line with the RTC representative in Copenhagen. So when I told him, hey, Robert, I know this stuff about the Free Zone, I've seen it, because I thought that he was out of the Sea Org, he meant some good. He speaks to the RTC representative, so I'm being put back on subjects and messed with. So I decide, he was how do you call that, when somebody is undercover agent, you know? RTC, a lot of undercover agents. Yeah. All right, so my ex-wife decides to leave the Sea Org, and I decide to leave the Sea Org with her. We come back to Athens, and I write a whole write-up at freezone.de, Deutschland, which is a free zone site from the year 2000, about what happened. And when they see this, they declare, because they sent an auditor to do a sec check, the living routing form in Greece, specifically for us, because I was me, my ex-wife, and another person. So they sent an auditor to do a living routing form to not create, you know, an ARC break bigger than the Greeks could have. But I wrote at this, and you can find me at the freezone.de. If you Google Theo SismanidesExSO, you can see that. And I wrote the whole thing, and they declared me when I announced that on the internet. That's how I was declared. All right. I wasn't declared. Right. What
did it feel like leaving the Sea Org and the church and stuff? How did that feel?
Oh, it felt crazy. Insanity, I told you, is must reach, can't reach. Must withdraw, can't withdraw. After 18 years, Andy, I still feel insane. Meaning, I should have reached for standard tech. I tried to, but I couldn't because of the Church of Scientology. Yeah. Now I must withdraw from it because if you know the elasticity of flows, that's another basic thing, an important thing. You know about the elasticity of flows? I think it's written in 88008. Elasticity of flows. You have two flows. You have the flow, reach flow and withdraw. Reach and withdraw. Okay? A theater must be able to do those things willingly and at will. Must be able to reach, must be able to withdraw at will. When you do only one flow, reach, okay, now you're not gonna see me, you know, too much reach, the flows get stuck. The same is with withdraw. I'm withdrawing from life, I'm withdrawing. I don't even want to talk to Andy Knowles, you know, because he's an Australian, he's weird and I don't know. I'm withdrawing. That's also gets stuck. Well, that's what they do. They tell you, you must reach, but you cannot reach. So you overreach. You become insane. You sound like a Theo SismanidesExSO, the crazy Greek guy, you know, from Athens, who talks. And you know, by the way, I tell you a nice thing. From this phone, with €8 per month, I can call all over the world. If you have a landline, I can call you free. So I've been calling orgs and RTC, Flag Bureau, I Have Friends, Copenhagen, the French receptionist, and I'm telling them about it. Have you ever seen anybody declared for insisting on HOVs? I'm calling. Well, that's crazy enough. That's too much reach, you know. I know what's going to come out of it, but imagine now we have a third dynamic and we have a concrete reality on, hey, let's say an example. It's not that I said that and that's the only thing. Hey, there is this HOVs and are not being applied, you know? Why? You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what's another basic thing? You know what's the formula of viability? I'm checking you out a little bit because you should know that stuff. Viability. What's before viability? It's quantity, quality, viability. If the pre-zone has quantity of outflow, okay, I don't know how many are going to see this interview. I don't even care. I told you there's a tone 45. I don't even care. My statement by LRH. By those HOPs were not applied. You insisted enough. Nobody listened to you. I'm sorry. You're not responsible. You got your exit ticket. I got my exit ticket. I care about others. So people concentrate on quality. Well, that's not the first thing. It's quantity. The free zone has to concentrate on quantity. How much outflow they've done, how many communications have they got out, how many interviews by anti-nodes per month, who is there, who is willing, you know, who is willing, come on. You know what I mean? And how many understandings do we get out of this? Because LRH uses the word in Orbit and Leibniz, understandings, S, plural. If you write it on Google, it's going to underline it as an orthographic, typographic mistake. No, it's understandings. It's not one understanding. It's many understandings. How many understandings think the people of Earth make today? Because you said before, they cannot even, you know, recognize. And that's true. And that's what's killing a theta, like you and me. And I understand that because you suffer because people don't understand. Of course, nobody has to have the same viewpoint. I understand that. But there's many who are going to have this viewpoint at will because there's going to be enough outflow there. That's what's missing. That's what LRH managed to do. I have an emailing manager. I send 200,000 emails on my job per month. That's a big quantity. I get work from that. It's not 5 emails. It's not 10. It's not even 10,000. It's not even 100,000. It's 200,000 emails. I have 85,000 subscribers, which have not subscribed at will, but I'm kind of polite to them. If they want to unsubscribe, I unsubscribe them immediately. But I send them. I communicate to them. I'm not waiting for them to come to me. And the free zone has this viewpoint of, oh, they're going to come to us. No, nobody's going to come to you. LRH didn't have this viewpoint. LRH didn't have this viewpoint. LRH was, I'm writing an HOV today, and I'm writing another one today, and the third today. And I'm issuing it. And it goes to all orgs. That's a hell of an outflow. You know who is the #1, the most prolific author by Guinness record? LRH.
Really?
Google. Most prolific author, Guinness records. LRH.
What record company?
Guinness records.
Oh, Guinness records. Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,084 books in a lifetime.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an outflow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so you got into? Did you do a lot of your bridge at Ronsorg?
If I did what? A lot of
your bridge at Ronsorg? What have you done in the indie field?
No, I got some auditors coming here, including Max Howry, who is the leader of the Ronsorg.
Yeah.
And he did to us, to 3-4 people here, some auditing, but it was at the bottom of the bridge, not much. And then I got Ignacio Tidu, who used to be an auditor also in the Sea Org, and he continued some of the auditing. Now we have a Class 6 auditor here, Manos Garifalu, and he's quite, he's a very good auditor, but we're a little bit messed. I haven't done much of the bridge. I have studied a lot, but I haven't done much like auditing-wise. Training-wise, I can say I studied outside the academy.
Yeah, and so...
I bet not many know the Tone 45. Yeah.
So do you, when it comes to doing Scientology in Greece, who would you recommend? How would you recommend going about it?
Well, there is an auditor, as I tell you. He is a Class 6, and he can definitely deliver. His name is Manos. And apart from that, there is other people who are not really trained, but they can help, you know. But Manos is a Class 6 auditor. He's quite good. I could definitely recommend him. But you see, Greece is a small country now. I mean, the old Alexandrian Empire is gone. So we don't have so many people. Still, we value and we appreciate philosophy, and LRH's philosophy is much in accordance with the ancient Greek philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
12
yeah.
It's
amazing how advanced the ancient Greek civilization was and their philosophy and that sort of stuff. Like, they were really, some of those philosophers were really getting out of the matrix, if you know what I mean. Like, they were going so deep. And then, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just, it would be good if we'd all continued this upward trend. But it seems like since 2,000 years ago, things have started to go down. You know,
right.
and I don't know.
What's the why? What's the why? I'll tell you one word: Christianity.
Really?
One word. You're a very modern guy. You should confront things. Christianity. That's all it took to get all that civilization down. You know, maybe it helped for specific things. Maybe mankind had to do this thing. But LRH says that Christianity made everybody a victim. And that's true. And I got rid of Christianity when I became a Scientologist.
Now, hold on a second, though. What about the idea that the Roman Empire just like corrupted it and turned it into like a big corrupt church, kind of like what the church is doing to Scientology? So then maybe Christianity, if it was practiced the way Jesus meant it, maybe it actually is really good, but it got perverted and got turned into a control system. What do you think of that?
Yeah, okay. This is why I'm saying there is another awesome tape. It's number 35, I think, from the PDCs. And it's called the DI scale. The DI is desire, enforce, inhibit. That's an awesome tape. Well, what LRH says over there, that there is a cycle from desire down to enforcement, down to inhibition on all things. And he gives an example of Christianity, like the first Christians, like they had a desire and everything, and then it got down because people wouldn't buy pie in the sky. You know, that's a communistic term, meaning paradise or, you know, happiness after life or whatever. Okay, so people wouldn't buy pie in the sky, and then what happens is you get Christianity getting really hard on people, and with the Inquisition, okay, so that's really enforcement. So each time you have desire. You can read that. If you don't have the PDCs, I can send them over to you. And tape 35 talks about this. It's incredible. And he says, okay, we go down to enforcement. And then after enforcement, because people still wouldn't buy, because the theta is not going to yield and succumb, you know, to force, you have to go down to inhibition. And that's a natural cycle. It's like the cycle of action. Start, change, stop. It's like start living, continue, and then die. And ancient Greece also died, that civilization, and the Romans did it. They killed it off because they kind of enforced it. They had a lot of laws. The Roman law is known. I used to be a lawyer. The Roman law was really unique at those times. People wanted to be Roman citizens because they were protected by the ultimate in law, which was the Roman law. You wanted to be a Roman citizen, like an American citizen today, because it was the most, you know, uncorrupt and correct law in the world. But then they killed it off because everything will die, you know, everything is going to do its circle. But the point is at the starting point, at the desire point, you know, and this desire, the DI scale, is also applied on auditing, where you say, was it desired affinity? You remember the buttons? Was it curious? Then there was this curious above even desire. Let's put after that, because the PDCs were written in 1952. Then he found out about curious, which is even above desire. But then he says, was it enforced reality? Remember those buttons? Have you ever done some auditing on the buttons? Like, was it inhibited reality? Was it no reality? Okay, these are from this tape. I mean, Elrates is like, is not a non sequitur guy who is like a guru who came out, you know, of the blue. And, you know, there's a Greek and an Australian right now, and we talk almost the same language. I mean, and we're talking about profound things that some people on the Facebook would write shit on you and they wouldn't give a shit about it, really. Who cares about them? But we care about those people who really care, you know. My right now wife writes to me, so I have to tell her one good thing, because she suffered from a cancer, and then she survived it, and I'm talking to her about Scientology, and she has gone exterior. She has died on her second birth, on her boy. She had this type of, how it's called, you know, from the belly, when you get the, you know, out. And she had surgery, and she saw that she was heading out somewhere. She saw the light. She saw the tunnel. You know what brought her back? The boy. The boy. That thing brought her back. And she tells me, and she's not even a Scientologist. She's never attended anything on the church. And when we met again, because we knew each other from when we were young, and now we are together again, we're going to get married, she tells me all this. Well, there is a theta. And she exteriorized. She used to exteriorize by force, and that was not a good thing, so I tried to stop her. No cutting, no training, no auditing, just verbal data from me, and the love of, okay, please be with me and understand this and try to do this and that, you know. So she's asking me right now. And these are the people that we're interested in. These are warriors. These are warriors, really. You know, and for these people, a lot of people can die in the attempt. You know what I mean? I mean, the free zone is right now hypnotized through Facebook and stuff like that. I think more live interviews, and I want to thank you very much, Andy. More live interviews need to be done. More coherent stuff, and maybe this Orbord that can start from scratch and maybe a little bit coping, like, okay, what do we have? There is an Andy Nolch who can do interviews. Well, let's get them out. Then we can talk about things.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
we need to take advantage of the internet while it's still free. Hey, what I've got to wrap this up.
Right.
Yeah.
So the internet is not gonna be free? You think the internet is gonna be free? Eh? Are you predicting things like shit?
Well,
Okay.
we just gotta we never know.
All right. Right, you're right. No, you're right. You're
Well,
right.
I mean, why do you think his interview had such crackly sound at the start of it and stuff? You know, I don't think that's an accident. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there was some sort of attack by OSA or something. You know, it just happens too often. It's just too much, like, shitty crackling calls and all that sort of stuff when it shouldn't be the case. You know.
My friend Andy, listen. It's not quality. It's quantity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that. Let's get out things in quantity. Quality is gonna come. Even the Chinese, now they think of quality. But like the last decade, they just, my sister is over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So let's think like the Chinese.
Hey, so what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm dealing with my job. I'm advertising. I'm like printing stuff like leaflets and maps and stuff, you know, cars and stuff like that. Yeah, these are maps that we do. Graphics, design. We design, you know, for customers. Like this is a hotel, you see, and they want this map of an island, a specific island that they are. This is the map of the island. I'm doing such stuff. And of course, I'm as I said, I'm divorced. I have 2 kids. I respect my ex-wife. She was with me in the Sea Org. She helped me very much, Olga. And she's brilliant in investigations.
Yep.
Brilliant. So we can use her on the org board. And then I'm dealing with life, okay, in general.
Are you studying Scientology at the moment?
Well, I'm studying here and there, stuff here and there, okay? I cannot say that I'm studying something like on a course.
Yeah.
But there is Jonathan Berkey, who has done an excellent job, you know, with online courses, which I think I'm going to attend, you know?
Yeah, especially for people who are in countries, you know, like Greece or Australia, where we don't have like a big org for ourselves or something like that, and you can go do stuff online. I'm starting the data evaluators course, which is awesome. Yeah, I started it today, which is going to be really interesting because that's apparently, you know...
On Jonathan Berkey's site? That's what you mean?
Yeah. It changes...
Awesome.
Apparently it changes the way how you can analyze things and find the whys and all that sort of stuff. Just out of curiosity, what do you think of the guy who thinks it is L. Ron Hubbard?
I'm not really right now willing or able to say anything. I expect anything from life. I've seen children, quote unquote, in the Sea Org commanding officers. So I'm not going to say anything at the moment. I'm not expecting a savior.
Yeah,
it's true.
So just out of curiosity, so with that Sea Org example, you're definitely certain that these people were former Sea Org members, like reincarnated or something like that, or former Scientologists that were reincarnated, or.
It could be. It could be. I just saw 15-year-olds, you know, like having a very clean and, full of intention attitude, you know. Of course, the judgment might be a little bit astray, but I definitely saw them really dedicated and stuff like that. I'm not saying this is a good or bad thing, but it's not like a 50-year-old dumb kid, you know.
I know, yeah. Okay. Well, I remember at Melbourne Org, I saw this, I think he was 15 or could even have been 14, and he was already like joining staff, and he just wasn't acting the way a normal 15-year-old would act. He was just it was like a 60-year-old man, like a sensible 60-year-old man. And you know, it does look a lot like this is a reincarnated guy, you know what I mean? And it would be interesting to follow him up and see if he had any interesting experiences in session and all that sort of stuff. But it's very likely he would have recovered, you know, some sort of awareness of who he was in his past life and that sort of stuff. It's just, you know, because there are plenty of kids who are born to Scientologist parents and they don't join staff and they don't do these sorts of things, but some of them really get into it and they really seem like they're a lot more mature than what they actually are. What were you going to say about Marty Rathbun?
Well, I was going to say that Marty Rathbun, my God, I mean, well, in a nutshell, what I'm going to say about Marty Rathbun and Mike Rinder is this, Andy. If those people were in the helmet of Scientology when I was in it, in the Sea Org, right, and now they act like they do, oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, how could these people be in the helmet of the Sea Org and now act like they do? It's their certainty about Scientology is so minimal, is so unreal that I cannot believe that these people were in the head. It's like the politicians. It's like they're arrogant, they're ignorant, they just bullies, they take a post, they don't know shit about it, and now they come out and I mean, Marty Rathbun has been doing loops, you know, 180 degrees. Now he's come 360 degrees. It's like, Mike Rinder, what the fuck is going on with Mike Rinder? Who are you, Mike Rinder? How could you be the CEO of OZA? You owe me, Mike Rinder. When you were the CEO of OZA, I was declared. He didn't give me an apology ever about it, not even on Facebook. So these guys are so ignorant, they're such bullies, you know, and I'm sorry that Scientology had to go through this. But I remember the DI scandal. Why do I need a church for VIA? Scientology as a philosophy remains unaltered in the scriptures of LRA, and thank God we have a lot of those. It's not going to remain unaltered in a church with Mike Rinders and Mark Rathbuns.
Yeah, I noticed it was strange as well, because I was like, how can you go from being a dedicated Scientologist to suddenly not being a dedicated Scientologist? Like, I found that was really strange. It made me think, so when you were a dedicated Scientologist, you were just going along with the emotions of it. You didn't really believe in it. It reminds me of Chris Shelton, right? Because
Andy, let me correct you. It's not a belief. Scientology is not a belief. Scientology is not even data. Scientology is certainty. Did I do this contact assist? Did I do it on my foot? Did I do it on my finger with a paper? Okay. Have I delivered like so many touch assists? Have I spoken to people? Do I know about Aziznes? Have I conceived of a static? Have I seen the static technology? It's not a belief. It's not a belief.
Yeah.
Let's get over this.
I know. So,
you know,
but
they have no certainty. These guys have no certainty. They were there for other purposes.
Yeah, it's really weird because I noticed it with Chris Shelton, because Chris Shelton would say something like he would go, I used to be a conspiracy theorist and like listen to Alex Jones and stuff, and then he made a total flip, and now he thinks it's all bullshit, right? And it's strange because it's just like, what the hell? How is that possible? That means that when you were a Scientologist or when you were a conspiracy theorist, you didn't even really actually really think that. And to me, it's so perverted and odd, because it's like, if I'm a Scientologist, it's because I know, you know what I mean? Like, that's like, I get into it. And then if I suddenly hated Scientology, right, I wouldn't say Scientology is crap. I would say, look, the management's wrong. This is what's wrong with it, blah, blah, blah. But this is what's all good. And I'd say about the conspiracy theory thing, I'd say, okay, I was maybe wrong about this conspiracy theory, or I was exaggerating with that. But there was still some of it that was right. I just thought it was really perverted when I was hearing that Chris Shelton was a conspiracy theorist, and then suddenly he's not. It makes me think that he was never a conspiracy theorist in the first place. He never was. He never was. He never really saw the data, investigated it for himself, actually studied it, actually cognited, and actually realized what was going on. He never did that. He just went into the Sea Org, was following orders, wasn't thinking for himself, was other determined, was out of valence. He's just a sick, perverted person, really, right? And that's how so these people can be a Scientologist in the past and then suddenly not be a Scientologist and completely flip, because the truth is that they were just never really a Scientologist in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can do an interview with Chris Shelton, you and me.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
That's a challenge for Chris Shelton, because I never saw Chris Shelton. I think that he's one of the run-of-the-mill Americans, you know, who just have been so much indoctrinated into the American culture, which is like there's no American dream anymore. I mean, the guy is really so average. He's so average, you know. I never paid attention to him. I paid attention to you. I paid attention to some ex-Scientologists. I even paid attention to this flip guy, you know, the journalist. Oh my God.
Tony Ortega.
What's his name? Oh yeah. I even pay attention to Tony Ortega because sometimes he has to say something anti-Scientologist, but okay, he has some data. But to Chris Shelton, I never paid attention. He's a run-of-the-mill. I don't even get interested in him.
He's too messed up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
exactly.
It's like, how can you trust his opinion now on hating the church? Because what if in 5 years, if he suddenly says, oh no, the church was good, I never really didn't like the church, and I was just sucked into the anti-Scientology movement, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, Chris, like, you're not even in your own valence. You're not even a real person. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you know,
all I can say, if I could accept the challenge for an interview of me and Chris Shelton by you, I can accept that. And let's see Chris Shelton, because otherwise he's non-existent to me. He's non-existent. His opinions don't count.
Ask him for it. It'll be interesting. But
ask anybody. I told you I'm on 45.
So
I don't have anything.
So I got to wrap this up, but
my people.
Before I end this, I want to ask you, like, what's your best win from Scientology?
Well, my best win is that Scientology corroborated, if I say this correctly, the word, like strengthened what I knew since I came in its body. I once had a session, and I'm seeing my mother pregnant in this body, and I see it from outside, and I describe to her the kitchen in the north of Greece that we used to live at that time, and I'm expecting to get this body. And I'm standing, you know, like 2 or 3 feet outside of her body, and she is pregnant to this body. So Scientology, and I saw that in session. So Scientology has given me back this knowledge that I had. Actually, it wasn't a knowledge, it was an inkling, it was a belief. Now it's certainty, and Scientology has given me a lot of happiness and a lot of distress because of all the things that are happening, but I guess this is life. So as a vegan, it gave me the chance to confront my real self and see if I want to go bigger or if I want to be smaller. depending on the responsibility. Boots in the sky is the reference. The race is gone, we are here, Andy. That's what Scientology gives me. A lot of responsibility, boy. I cannot bear it alone.
Yeah.
I cannot.
So
that's what it gave.
So, just out of curiosity, you were running an engram, were you?
I'm sorry? What?
You're running an engram? A prenatal engram?
If I'm running an engram?
No. What you spoke about before was a prenatal engram, right?
I don't remember how it came up. It came up in a session. I don't remember what it was. It just I just have this this facsimile, facsimile. This picture, I'm standing in the door. And there is this kitchen, and I'm describing this kitchen to my mother, and she definitely tells me, yeah, we have this apartment, but then she tells me, okay, we weren't there when I was pregnant and stuff like that. I don't want to go into much detail on that. My mother, I mean, she cared for me as a body, but she was never into spiritual things. In any case, I saw that I was waiting to get this body, and there was no way somebody else would gonna get the body.
Oh wow! Dead. So you were actually, you remember waiting for the birth, or waiting until the embryo formed, or something, or?
No, the embryo was there. I was waiting for the birth to get the body in Thessaloniki, Salonika, which is in the north of Greece. It's not Athens, it's in Macedonia.
Yeah, so you actually remember that you were waiting for the body, to get the body.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
I remember...
I've heard that. And doesn't LRH talk as well about Satan sometimes fighting other Satans for a body?
Yeah, but there was nobody else there. I made sure I was the only one.
Ah.
Yeah, body. At least it used to be. Don't look at it right now. It was an okay body. It gave me pleasure. That's what Scientology gives me now. Beyond the pleasure, it gives me the responsibility to talk. And remember that, my friend.
Now,
it cannot be born by one Satan alone. That's what the free zone is missing. There must be a minimum of agreement.
Yeah.
Let's talk worlds. Yeah, okay, let's get on with it. Yeah. Listen.
So, just out of curiosity, were you a Scio in your past life?
Was I what?
Were you a Scientologist in your past life?
Well, once in a session, I had an inkling that I was in the 50s with LRH. I was born, I mean, this body is born in 1960. So I had an inkling, and I used to be clear, but that's not really solidified. So I cannot say much to this. But I was looking, I can tell you one thing, so that might be, an inkling to you. Before Scientology, before I met Scientology, which was in the late 70s, I was like 27, I used to look in window shops for a study technology, a method for study technology, if that says something to you. And I did know that I was immortal when I was younger. I mean, I don't know. You see, I haven't gotten much of auditing, okay?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So you were looking in shops for courses that could help you. So
if you allow me about Lafayette Ron Hubbard, because you asked, and that's important. If you allow me one thing.
Yeah.
If Lafayette Ron Hubbard, whoever it might be, can speed up things, okay? Because I've seen it, I've been through it. It's really frustrating and tormenting to get Homo sapienses turned into a Thetan. If a Lafayette Ron Hubbard can do that, I will take my hat off to him. Like we need we need either more intelligent auditors, the auditors who are going to like get pieces and really get them through fast, or I don't know, we need something. We're in the era of internet. I anticipate anything. I abide by standard tech. I abide by standard tech. But Elrich has said this is not a perfect technology. He said it's a workable technology. Okay? And I'm not expecting this is the end of mankind and Scientology is the ultimate thing, you know? No. I've seen it. 2 minutes contact assist. That's not easy. We need faster auditors. We need faster administrators. I'm an administrator. I can be an auditor, but an administrator thinks in terms of quantities. Okay.
I've heard that in the Between Lives area, you get programmed, like, you know, implanted to then go find a baby or whatever, or a pregnant woman. So you've sort of accessed some memories that is a part of that cycle. Like you sort of remembered when, you know, you were like there as a Thetan following your implanting and I'm going to go get the body.
Yeah. Yeah, I just happened to remember that it's me. I'm not in a body, and I'm just waiting for a body to take a body.
So what do you remember anything else? Like, what do you think about when you're in that condition? Is time the same? Because, like, I imagine it'll be a really long wait, like how many weeks or whatever you have to wait and stuff. Like, that's a bit boring. Like, did you experience that sensation of, oh my God, it takes ages, or?
No, there's almost no time in it. For a Thetan, there's no time. After that, you're in the body, and you're in the north of Greece, and you indulge into the goodies of the food and the seafood that, you know, there's no time in it. There's no time. I actually have no time track on that too much. It's just this picture that I have that I'm waiting to get the body. And then the pictures that I have is I'm in the body. I can see it from outside also, as I described you, in the north of Greece that I was born. And
now hold on. When did you go into the body? Do you remember actually going into the body?
No, this I don't have a recall about this. I don't have a recall. I have a recall of being 2 years old and being in my bed and just outside of it. I have a recall of the room. I have recalls of my early childhood, which a lot of people do not have.
Yeah.
I have a recall of saying to my grandpa didn't die, let's go and bury him. I had confused, you know, the body with the Thetan. And she told me, okay, you can go sleep now. And then I slept for many years because that was an invalidation. My grandma was not educated at all. And
what
of
happened?
course,
Can you explain that again?
Well, I'm just saying that's 1963. My grandpa has died. I hear about it and I'm really sad about it. I'm 3 years old and we're in bed, and I used to go in bed in the afternoon with my grandma to take a nap. And I tell her, look, Grandma, Grandpa hasn't died. She's on the right to me. And I remember being in a small body, and I tell her, Grandma, Grandpa hasn't died.
Could you see the ghost of your grandpa?
No, I tell you, I haven't any theta perceptions. That's all ideas, notions, and certainties. But inside, I didn't see that. Once I saw in an auditing session that my grandpa was stuck there in his tomb, and I managed to get him out of there. But that was not really a picture. It was a kind of not just an idea. You know, I think it could be true. It could be true.
So in session, you went and you spoke to him. You went and spoke to him while you were in session?
I didn't speak to him. I just had this in a flash of a moment, and I see this tomb, and suddenly I feel that someone is gone, is relieved from that thing.
Oh, okay.
That's what I remember. That's what I remember. There's many strange things happening in auditing, but the point is that after that you feel lighter. I've seen several things. I don't have to describe. Oh, I've seen some sexual implants. Oh, a body of a woman, and oh, I even had an erection in session, and behind the body, and it was the back of a woman also, and I suddenly, that was going to international management. I had the sec check, and there's this back of a woman, you know, and a male gets really we're stimulated by maybe the back or the front of a woman. And I feel that, and I got an erection in session, and I go like, my God, what's that? And behind this scene of the back of a woman, of this facsimile, I get a strange motion. I get something like a bop, like something like, and I say, my God, there's something happening here. And I feel that there is a certain electronic wavelength, like hitting me, you know? And as I look at it, it goes like less and less and less, and my erection goes off, and I'm fine, you know? I mean, there's strange things happening in auditing. I'm not saying all these are true, but I can tell you, I got an erection. Sorry, that's I don't have you know, any taboos talking about sexual things. And then I feel this electronic thing. This
was it making you like bounce between 2 points, or was it just like it was just coming over the top of you, a sensation or something? Or?
Yeah, it was hitting me, you know. It was behind this scene. And I can tell you another thing, you know. A thetan has no wavelength. What's the closest wavelength to the zero or infinity wavelength of a thetan? Well, the closest wavelength, that's also in 88008, the book, is aesthetics. Aesthetics is the finest wavelength. You know, wavelength is the length between one top of one wave to the other. So the finest, the most fine wave that there exists is aesthetics. And aesthetics is being used to trap thetans. That's known in marketing, and not only. So this female body, you know, that's a theta trap. And I go like, whoa. And after, behind that, behind this aesthetic, you know, there is this thing. And I feel like, man, there's something happening here. Something hits me, you know. That's auditing. That's auditing. I've got some auditing. It was okay, but it was not like, okay, it was sex checks. I got whatever I could out of them.
Just out of curiosity, after you ran an incident like that, how did it affect your second dynamic?
Well, I tell you, well, I got married. Now that you mentioned that, I went back to Greece. I was a recalcitrant Greek, and I grabbed, you know, my wife, or she came over with me willingly. I didn't grab her, but I got married, and I have 2 children with her. That's major. Of course, I still masturbate, and I still, if I see the back of a woman, of course, I can have like a restimulation, but I got married after that. And now that you're mentioning that, you know, that's not a little thing, because I was in the Sea. Who am I going to marry, and where am I going to make children with? Because they are all like nuns in there. Almost. It's like, oh my God, you know, you have to get married and you have to have sex. I mean, okay, El Reyes has put that there, but even that, like sex is and how about this other thing that Int, Guillaume Leger, the hell with him, put out as a flag order that children are forbidden in the Sea Org. That was in 1994 or something. You know that? That was a flag order that came. Before that, people could have children in the Sea Org.
Yeah.
And then Guillaume Leger issues a flag order. My God, who are you to issue a flag order of that magnitude? And we swallowed that. And we couldn't have children. Like me and Olga over there, if we had children, we would have to go to a certain org, not Athens. They would send us to Colombia or somewhere, I don't know, far from our like birth cities, and raise our children there. That's another thing. Not to talk about the abortions. When LRH talks about in Dianetics about the doctor who orders an abortion, his license should be taken off. And now Miscavige orders abortion. I mean, all these things are, this is why people are right who are anti-Scientologists, but the truth is not on the extremes. The truth is in the middle. LRH never talked about abortions. You know, I've seen Andy, the second dynamic, suffer so much in the Sea Org. I don't think it was like that by LRH. I don't think it was that bad. And LRH was on a mission. He kept improving the tech. So the second dynamic might suffer a bit. But under Miscavige, no. The tech has seen no progress at all, and the second dynamic has been deteriorating. I've seen children have no money, have no games to play, nothing, no toys, being poor in Copenhagen. It was awful. Yeah. It was like they were missionaries already, and many children were very how it's called, like revolutionary. They couldn't have that, and it was not good. Yeah. And RTC eating like shrimps, it's give me a break, you know. And the Sea Org members' children suffering. Yeah. It was like I had a good life as an adult in Greece, you know. I had a good life. So nice. I couldn't see that.
All
anyway.
Right. Well, we're going over time, but is there anything you want to say or ask before I end this interview?
Well, I want to say that I do thank you for this interview, and I want to say that this proves that, well, the third dynamic, that's what I can say, which of course consists of first dynamics, or actually seventh dynamics, because we are a seventh dynamic. We're not first dynamics. We're seventh dynamics. We're spirits. And I see the picture, you know, at the background, and I see, you know, all these lights there. I mean, this is who the Thetan is keep flourishing and prospering, and let's make a better tomorrow, because if you and me and others take a hat and we agree upon an org board, we could do many more things, because the tech is given. The tech is given. I've given you some examples of my wins, and probably if I interview you at any time, you have your own wins and others have their own wins. That's not the point. The point is administration right now. How do you get those wins out, and how do you keep the tech okay and unaltered so that it can continue? Yeah. What it is. That's all.
Great. Well, thanks for speaking with me, Theo.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Okay, Australia.
All right, so that was the interview with Theo SismanidesExSO. I think it's pronounced SismanidesExSO or something. We've got to end off, but before that, we've got a quote, an LRH quote. It is only when an individual progresses in life to a point where much seriousness is attached to things that he begins to have a hard time. L. Ron Hubbard. And that's completely correct. I mean, if you're not serious about things, things don't affect you. You can go through a lot of stuff, and a serious person would really get affected by that, really get keyed in and be like, oh, this is so serious, and oh my God, problems, seriousness, stresses, and they're all keyed in and everything. And someone else can just be like, okay, like I'm not serious about things. Why does anything matter? You know, like, why do you care so much about things, you know? And because we start off, the reason why LIH in this quote says the individual progresses is because we start off not serious, and then as we go on, we get more and more serious. And I think puberty has a lot to do with it. Things suddenly change. Instead of just being a little kid, because all these chemicals are going off in your body and DNA is going wild, you're concerned about what, I think it must start with, from a guy, it must start with, you know, you're concerned about what girls think of you. But suddenly you start taking things seriously, and you start wanting to be the captain of the football team, if you know what I mean. And, I mean, it's not like it's bad to want to be successful and that sort of stuff, but you start taking things seriously, and then you just keep on taking things seriously, more and more serious. And it's just, that's what I noticed with me. And it just keys you in massively. To me, anything that's low-toned has seriousness to it, especially people who are angry. They've got all this seriousness to it, and you talk to like a 1-1 and they're like, oh no, you can't do that. No, oh, you can't do that. No, you can't. They're not like flexible and free, and they're just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, okay, you know, yeah, do that. Yeah, whatever. Everything's so serious, you know. The reactive mind keys in when someone's in danger, when there's seriousness, you know. And honestly, we're not living amongst the lions. We're not in situations where we need to be serious all the time, be worried all the time. And the truth is that when you get more spiritually advanced, you can walk into those dangerous areas, and you can know that your positivity and your power as an OT can protect you, and you're not in danger. You can stare a barrel of the gun. You can stare into a barrel of a gun and feel safe. When you've got belief, when you've got faith. It's pretty cool. I don't think there's many places that I would feel unsafe in. Especially when I hear about stories about people who have gotten into bad situations, or they've walked into dangerous areas and they've actually been attacked and that sort of stuff. You find out that person was low-toned. You know what I mean? You find out that person was not quite right. And you're like, oh, this person's attracting this sort of crap into an environment, you know? And you're like, I bet you if I was there, that fight wouldn't have broken out. You know what I mean? I bet you if I was there, they wouldn't have tried to rape me, you know? Because I'm uptone, and I can influence people around me, and I put out good vibes, and I bring out the best in people. So if I'm around an insane SP, they don't try and rape me, basically. But someone else is more low-toned, they get around the SP, and the SP feels like dramatizing. I can literally be around, I don't mean to brag or anything, but I mean, I literally can be around people who are type 3 and they don't dramatize. They just act normal. But other people who are more low-toned can get around them and then next minute the type 3 is all keyed in and dramatizing and going crazy and stuff. Anyway, there's just a lot more going on than what people would think. But I'll read out that quote again because it's really important. It's the key to life, really. Because like the truth of it, this seriousness thing, is that I think there's another quote I did on another podcast where LH said something about seriousness. I hope I'm not repeating the same quote. But anyway, maybe it's good to repeat the same quote, but I don't think I'm pretty sure I would have deleted it. I wouldn't have reused the same quote again. But it makes sense. Harold Humbert would have repeated this point this idea in different ways over his career because it's such a big thing, seriousness. The truth is that when you die, and when you don't have to die to experience this, but when you go out of the matrix, you could say, and you see everything for what it is, you realize you're like, wow, I can't believe I took any of that seriously. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, that's just a computer game, or that's just an experience. You don't have to be so serious about it. You don't have to be so worried you crashed your car. You know what I mean? And maybe be serious about that, but that doesn't even happen that often. Usually people are serious about things that are just so not important. But I noticed that when I had a funky experience where I was like out of the matrix or something, I felt like, whoa, I could easily not go back. And I don't know if I had that power to literally not come back, but I was on the brink of not coming back. And the thing is that why wasn't I going, oh, what about my podcast? Or, oh, what about my car? Or, oh, what about all these other cycles of action that I want to do? Or, what about the people? It might be really rude to tell people this, but like, it's like, I did not give a shit. I was willing to just say, no, I will leave. You know what I mean? I was willing to just, and I assumed that maybe my body would die or something, and that would be it. And I'll be off in some other dimension or something. But I did not care about this matrix at all. When I was out of it, I was just like, wow, that's just like some computer game or something, or that's some sort of DVD that I'm watching that I'm experiencing, like living in a DVD movie. And I was like, I could easily have left it. But you know, and I've heard this from other people who've had near-death experiences and all this sort of stuff. They die and they go, wow, yeah, I can't believe I cared so much about my messed materials and all this sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, it's just like, who gives a stuff? You know what I mean? It's all fake anyway. It's all just some sort of fucking, you know, you can't keep it with you anyway when you die and stuff. But it's just like, you have to experience it for yourself. You have to actually experience the feeling of being out of the matrix and how little you care about it. You literally, your whole existence, your whole life, this whole life you've been living from being born up until now, you care about it as much as you care about a DVD in your CD collection. And you can just pick it up and you're like, yeah, it's an alright CD, you know, I can put it in the bin or I can leave on the shelf. But that was what it felt like to me, or like the importance of it. And you just got to experience it for yourself. It's really cool, because then I came back and it's just like, well, I'm just continuing doing this and this sort of stuff. But I really shouldn't have any seriousness or any care or anything. And the seriousness just keys you in. It causes problems and gives you a hard time, like this quote says. But it's just like, I mean, if I had, for example, if I really had taken things seriously, then when I had this experience, right, I would have felt so embarrassed. I would have been like, oh my God, I can't believe I took things seriously. I can't believe I put all that effort in. I can't believe everything was like, I felt a little bit like that anyway. But imagine if I really was one of these people who think that this existence is all that there is. I mean, they really take things seriously. There's tons of evidence for it that this isn't all that there is, so who cares? Just a computer game. Elon Musk says that and stuff. Like it's a computer simulated world or whatever. You have to start treating your life literally like you're playing an Xbox game. That's the level of seriousness. Like as in, you know, just don't get so affected by it. Anyway, I'll read out the quote again. It is only when an individual progresses in life to a point where much seriousness is attached to things that he begins to have a hard time. Great quote. I remember a guy years ago who was serious about everything. It was Mr. Serious, and he was just so aberrated. He was just so aberrated. I'll just leave it at that. And so failing in life. Anyway, he was also really serious about not committing an overt. Just like he was really worried, you know what I mean? Like he would work for someone, and someone would like offer him a tip or something, and he would be like, no, the agreement was this price, and they were just offering a tip. It's just like, yeah, take the tip, like who cares? But he would just be like, no, the agreement was this price, and like he was just paranoid about committing an overt, and that happens to people who are church members. Scientology church members, they're paranoid, they're serious, they're really worried about not committing an overt, and it's just like, whoa, calm down, stop taking things seriously, okay? When we say don't commit overts, we mean don't take Panadol drugs every single day for like 4 months straight for a headache when you should have been going out and doing other things to try and solve your headache problems besides just taking headache pills to mask it up, because eventually you get cancer from it or you get something else from that. You know what I mean? That's what, you know, it's not like this paranoia about committing like little silly overts, you know. Anyway, that's it for today's show. It's time for you to climb back out of this rabbit hole, out of this interesting Scientology world. Thanks for listening. I've been your host, Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy. You have been listening to the Indie Scientology podcast. And remember, what you thought was impossible is possible.